Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Chatting with Nuts. I am, of course, Jimmy Nuts, as you probably already knew. This is the 12th episode, which is pretty impressive. There was that many disciples, supposedly, back in the day. So I guess that's a pretty substantial number of episodes. And today I am I'm joined by someone that should have been on a lot sooner, I think, because when I talk about Booktube and I talk about my friends, I always say my first friend in Booktube was Alex Neves, and then my second friend was Riddhima. And it so happens to be that the the only two communities I'm really active in are hers and Alex's. And I think they both have the best communities. I really do. And as well as Alan, I've actually joined Alan's Discord recently, and it's wonderful, very active. Overbearing a little bit. Alan has a lot of friends, but Riddhima has been someone that I have looked up to as far as content goes. I think that she makes some of the best content on the Booktube community, and she's just a good person and a dear friend. So I am happy to have her on tonight. Riddhima, how are you?
I'm good. I was gonna say, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for having me on the channel, and same everything you said right back at you, like 10 times more, because I think Jimmy is definitely probably my closest friend that I made through Booktube. And I just really appreciate like how you always like reach out to me, because I am definitely terrible at reaching out to people first. So but thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
I mean, I'm happy to have you here because when Rid's around, it's pretty much just vibes. It's everyone's vibing, everyone's having a good time.
The vibes are immaculate tonight.
They are immaculate. You're right. It's funny, I think when we first started talking and we first met and we're commenting on each other's channels, I don't think we realized how much we had in common as far as our taste in books go, because that time I was reviewing a lot of John Gwynne, a lot of battle heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not a huge fan of like battles and I guess I wouldn't say wartime fantasy, but like battle heavy fantasy, right?
No. Yeah, no. I was going to say, I feel like we have, I don't know. I think there's definitely overlap, but we also like go in different directions when it comes to reading a lot.
We do. And our overlap happens to be Robin Hobb.
I feel like Robin Hobb is just everyone I know. Like everyone I know loves Robin Hobb. Like I don't know a single person who's read Robin Hobb and like hated it. Like actually I do know one person.
I can think of one person.
I know one person, and I was like, okay, that's a valid opinion. And then I was like, and then I never talked to them again. Just kidding. But like most people, like literally every single person, aside from that one person that I can think of, Robin Hobb is such an easy recommendation to me. And I feel like I can never go wrong with her. Like I can never oversell her. Like I can say the most like exaggerated, hyperbolic things about Robin Hobb's writing. And like it ends up living up to the expectations like every single time.
Yeah, like one of the things that I mentioned in a couple of my reviews for Robin Hobb, but like one of the reasons why my Realm of the Elderlings journey, which did come to a conclusion this week here on the channel, was the fact that in your Discord, everyone was reading it at some point, like whether they were in Farseer or Live Ship or anything. It was just constant Robin Hobb talk, and it really felt like a book club of sorts. And it's something that I haven't had a lot of experience in. Like I don't do a lot of read-alongs because I tend to get through books pretty quickly, and then I feel bad, that I'm not at the same pace as somebody. But with your Discord and your Realm of the Elderlings community, everyone was at some different point. And then we had veterans of the series kind of coaching us along. Like, don't worry, it's better. You'll cry more. But I think that had a huge impact on why Robin Hobb was such a hit with me. I really do.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about like the Robin Hobb channel on my Discord is that it happened completely organically. Like I didn't organize anything. I didn't say like, oh, let's do a Robin Hobb read along. Like everyone, like when the Discord first started, like most people hadn't read it, and I mean, I don't know if I can take credit for it or like just random, they decided to read it on their own. But like I was always like, Robin Hobb is incredible. Like you need to read her. And then like people just started reading Robin Hobb, and it happened, like I said, completely organically. So that was really cool for me.
Yeah, the hype train, it got spinning. It left the station, and it's never come back. I mean, I think they're Chris who is an author, and that's in your Discord, just started Farseer, and I think he's in Royal Assassin now. And hearing his opinions as he goes through is just, it's awesome. And I have a couple people in my Discord as well who are going through it for the first time, and I don't know. I love watching people experience what I just experienced. And before we came live, me and Rid were talking about if we could start one series over with no recollection of it and read it, just over and over for the rest of our lives, we would do Robin Hobb. Yeah, we really would.
Yeah, for sure.
See, Andrew's in my Discord, just finished Golden Full. I'm glad to hear it. I didn't think I don't think I'll ever recover. Yeah, that's kind of how
Tawny Man was like the first. Like, I liked Farseer a lot, and then I feel like Tawny Man is where I kind of fell head over heels for Robin Hobb. Like, I also really loved Live Ship. Like, Live Ship to me is like different, where I really appreciate it for like the level, like the scope of it. Yeah. Whereas like Tawny Man was like an emotional journey for me. And then I'm reading Fitz in the Fool right now, and it's the same thing, and it's even more intense. Like, I don't know how she does it. Like, every time I'm like, there's no way she can raise the stakes like emotionally this time, but she does it, and it's just flawless. And
and looks like we have some other Ship of Magic on audiobook. Very excited. Ooh. Sarah, always a good friend of the channel. I'm excited that you're starting Ship of Magic because it is excellent. It's so good. I agree with you. I felt like every Fitz entry just leveled up my attachment to him more and more. And I like when you're like, okay, that's the crescendo. We're never getting past this mountain. And then she pushes it farther. And a lot of times when authors push it, they'll lose it a little bit, even, I'm a huge A Song of Ice and Fire fan. A lot of people feel like George kind of lost it after Storm of Swords because he just kept going with the story. And Robin Hobb never had that for me. Like, I never felt, Rainwild Chronicles, we won't talk about. But with the Fitz stuff specifically, I never felt like she overstayed her welcome with Fitz at all, which is really impressive with how many pages she had written for him.
Yeah, and I really love how she's not afraid to like dwell on a moment, and it's not like Farseer is not fast paced by any means, but it still never feels like you said, it never feels like it's overstayed its welcome. I was going to say something else, and then my mind is completely blanking right now.
It's all good. You'll remember it in like an hour. It'll be fine. I feel so weird, So for those who don't know, I wrapped up Realm of the Elderlings reviews here on the channel this week with my Assassin's Fate review, and that was a hard review to film because it really does feel like a monumental. I don't want to say achievement, but like a moment, right? Like, this series is something that I did not expect to like this much. Like, I didn't know what I was getting into with Robin Hobb, and undoubtedly the most enjoyable series I've read since A Song of Ice and Fire, like without a doubt. I remember when I finished A Song of Ice and Fire, I said, man, I will never find anything like this ever again. I feel that exact same way about Realm of the Elderlings. It's just something special.
I can't imagine, like, I don't know, like, I can't imagine feeling the same way about Fitz, like, for any other character. And even I love other, like, my other favorite characters from like other series, like Egwene. I love her, obviously, but like I feel like there's not a single character in fantasy that I know as well as I know Fitz.
Wow, what a way to put that. That's a great way to put that.
Yeah, like, I feel like, I don't know, you could give me a situation and I would be like, I know exactly how Fitz Chivalry would react to this situation.
How he would mess it up.
I know. Yeah.
Well, he feels so real, for better or for worse. When Robin Hobb did her interview with George R.R. Martin, they have an editor they share, and they're having a conversation. They were kind of talking about why they put their characters through such turmoil. And when Robin, she just said, she's very, very like straight face. She just says, well, I don't. Fitz does. And it's like,
yeah, that's so true.
Like, that is something that I don't think a lot of authors get to that level with their characters. And she even said, sometimes I'll be like, Fitz, why are you doing this? This is going to make me write like 30 more pages. Like, stop. But she's created this livable, breathable, tangible character that has a moral compass and a code that he followed. It's awesome. I mean, true relationship. I mean, he has better relationships that in pages that I have in real life.
I know. Like his relationships are so I always say this about Robin Hobb, where like there's so many fantasy series with amazing characters, like individual characters, but no one, like literally no one does character relationships as well as Robin Hobb. Like the way they're so complicated and weird, but they still work and they just feel so human is just incredible to me. One thing I am going to call you out on, I already asked you, I think I asked you in public, but we have to do a Realm of the Elderlings character ranking.
Yes, on your channel.
Okay, we'll do it on my channel, but we have to do it, and I'm going to make you rank every character. It'll be so painful, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to force you to do it.
You know, and it's not just humans, right? You got to rank ships, you got to rank animals. Oh my goodness. I won't lie. I've been dodging ranking the characters because it'll be heartbreaking to think about that and put one over the other. But I'm down. We're definitely going to do that. I think that would be an excellent live stream. I think a lot of people here would probably really enjoy that as well.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting discussions as well.
Yeah, I like it because then you also will have to really start getting down to the nitty gritty of each character's motivations and things like that. And I have a lot of different feelings about a lot of people who influence Fitz. So I think it could lead to some really good discussion.
Yeah, I recently, like, I just read a chapter of Fitz and the Fool 2 last night. I don't know what the title is because I've just been thinking of it as Fitz and the Fool 2. But I read a chapter last night, and that chapter made me do a complete 180 on a character that I hated. And now I'm like, it's good. So the character rankings are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I need to. After the stream, you got to tell me who it is because now I want to know. Robin Hobb had an appearance on Writing Excuses where she talks about characterization and is incredibly unhelpful because of her level of genius. She's just like, just talk to the characters.
Just talk to the characters.
That actually reminds me. I was talking to Christian over the past weekend, and we were kind of talking about Gurm and how, you know, Gurm's not a cool looking dude. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, we were kind of talking about like fantasy writers and their personalities. And like one thing I really enjoy about Gurm and Robin Hobb is that they both seem so not caught up in their own hype. Whereas, you know, Robin Hobb gives all the credit to her characters.
Robin Hobb deserves more hype.
Agreed.
I will say that. She gets shafted so many times. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
no, you're 100% correct. I mean, I can think of 2 times already. You know, she's never won a Hugo, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Times Magazine, watch your back.
Yeah.
Watch your fucking back, Times Magazine. Sorry. Are we allowed to curse?
You can swear to your heart's content.
Okay.
I am totally fine with that. Someone put Gurm is a beautiful man. You know, he is charming with his little conductor hat, and we know he loves trains, so it makes it, you know, even better. The thing I was going to point out, though, is like, you know, Robin Hobb blames her characters for some of the bad decisions. One thing that Gurm does that I really loved is they were like, how did you come up with all these amazing names? And he's like, I just kind of did. like
wow,
you know,
I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. And he said, I went on Fantasy Name Maker.
Yeah, how'd you come up with John?
Yeah, Jon Snow, what a visionary. He said he tried to use one of the random fantasy name generators for D&D, and he was like, it came out as like Tom like Thornbucket, and he was like, this thing sucks. And he was like, I guess I'll just like take historical names and tweak them. And and then he's like, and I didn't even do a good job because I had to start repeating them and whatnot. But it's got like Hobb like not actually being good for her advice on characterization because it's just something she does.
Yeah.
And some people are like that. Like there's blessed athletes, right, that are just like, you know, like there are people I grew up with, and I was just like, oh, they're just like better than me at this. Like,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like some people, they just have that like gene inside them where they're just like, they just do it. They're so good at what they do.
Yeah, for me, you know, I thought I was going to be an athlete. I thought for sure because I had like the biggest head in my class. Like they were confused on how my head was so big. Like I'd walk around and just like Jimmy Neutron in the flesh.
So wait, having a big head means you're like athletic?
Well, it tends to mean that like you're probably going to be taller, and that you could in general have more bone density. But it turns out I just had a really fat head.
Wow. I mean, you kind of, I mean, you are an athlete.
Well, like, I pretend to be.
You're a wrestler. I think that's athletic. That's pretty athletic.
I always tell people if they need someone to pretend beat somebody up, I'm the person. I'm the guy. Or if you need someone to take a fall, you know, like you want to impress somebody and you're like, I got to show off my skills. I'm the guy. I can take a good fall for you.
What we have to do is like, if someone wants to impress someone else, we'll call you up and then you will like pretend fight them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I
mean, one day we're going to do Booktube boxing, you know? I mean, all these YouTubers are boxing.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to tweet that one time where I was like, all these TikTokers are boxing. Like, I need to like pull up on some booktubers. Like, imagine how much money we would make. Just a bunch of nerds beating each other up. It would be so entertaining.
Yeah, I don't even know what we would do in between. Like, would we commentate the event with like only quotes from books that we enjoy? Like, I feel like a Booktube boxing event.
We have to get like Robin Hobb to come, like, be the sports commentator.
She's way too into her chicken farm, I think, to do that.
Yeah,
she tweets about her chickens.
Yeah, I love her tweets because her life just seems like so, like exactly the way that I would imagine her life would be. You know, like she's always like tweeting about her animals and like her grandchildren, and it's so cute. She's gold.
She's so down to earth.
Yeah,
she's so down to earth. And
if I wrote like something half as good as like Realm of the Elderlings, like I would never shut up about it.
I would be like, talking shit constantly.
I know. I would never shut up about it. She's really on it. She's a different level.
Super Games Bro says I still have a big head. I'm not disagreeing. I've had widow's peak since I was 1. I don't know what's up with this head.
I think I have a pretty big head too, to be honest. But I'm not like athletic. I just have like a big forehead.
Yeah, same here. I've always had a 5 head, always. And people are like, "Oh, you're starting to lose your hair." I'm like, "No, it's just this high. It's always been this high."
My mom used to make me get bangs when I was a kid because she said my forehead was so big. Like I don't have a receding hairline. I just have a big forehead.
Big forehead gang, stand up.
Yes.
Booktube boxing might be pretty short-lived. Yeah, when I wreck you, Philip.
Oh, I'd pay to watch that.
Oh man, Super Games Bro says he'll box Daniel. I think.
Doesn't Daniel Green do boxing? I feel like I follow him on Instagram, and he's like posted stories about it.
Oh, I mean, I'd be down if there, because I've taken a striking class or 2 in my day. That could be fun. Main event right there. I want to box. Booktube boxing. I'll referee. People seem to really enjoy this.
I'm telling you, it's such a good idea. We can make so much money.
Oh man, Andy Smith has shown up. He took a break from his theater and his bookstore. Are we still working on the bookstore, Andy? If you're in chat, let me know. And feel free. I don't know if the bot will let you, but feel free to drop your Indiegogo project in the chat. I don't know if it'll let you because I'm bad at YouTube. But absolutely. Wow, Rid's mom needs to watch her back. I'll hold a shield for you, Jimmy. My squire, all the way from down under. An interesting way to settle bookish disagreements. Yeah, and the thing about the Booktube boxing is we would have to cosplay, right?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna do like a whole like entry.
Oh yeah, we have to have pyro.
Yeah,
I'm coming out in like a carriage. I'm gonna have horses pulling me. It's gonna be a production. Like it's gonna be high budget.
I think I'm gonna go for the sci-fi route, and I'm gonna have like a spaceship, and I'm gonna like.
I like it.
What's it called? Descend from the rafters.
What if we had a robotic sandworm from Dune?
Oh,
and you just rode that in.
Oh, so the worm will be like a halfway through the match. It'll like pop up, and then we'll have to like stop fighting each other and team up against the worm. So it'll be like a plot twist.
It's a little bit of PvE content, you know, working together. It's a nice spin. Last night, so the bookstore opened last night. Is that what we're hearing? If so, congratulations, man! I'm really happy for you. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
For those who don't
Andy.
know, Andy Smith is a booktuber, has a great channel, has a lot of Malazan content, has a good variety of stuff on his channel. But him and his wife have recently opened up a local bookstore, and they are very big in their local community, and it's actually pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
I would say owning a bookstore is on my bucket list, but I would be terrible because I would just read all the time and distract the people trying to buy books and try to get them to read fantasy only. What's your entry song? Rains of Castamere.
Oh.
Because everyone's going to die.
Like a dubstep version?
Yeah. You know what? We'll do the metal version. There's a
metal version. I always forget metalheads are like huge fantasy fans.
Yeah, me and Christian, whenever he came on, we had this big thing about how we were going to start like a fantasy themed band, and we were going to call ourselves the Open Council.
Oh.
Yeah, because Christian used to play in a metal band.
Oh, wow.
He's very talented.
Wow. You guys are so interesting. My backstory is like, yeah, I went to school. I started reading because of Accelerated Reader. And everyone else is like, yeah, I was in a metal band. I used to be a professional wrestler for 7 years. Like, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, but you know what? Your takes are still better than mine because I have all the brain damage. So
no,
I just
not even.
Oh, wait, look at that. Hey, Kate, thank you so much for the 5 spot. I appreciate it. All right, Booktuber boxing is happening, but what's the walkout song for each of you want to be? Yeah, so mine's definitely going to be Reigns of Castamere. I also wouldn't mind to come out as Ambitions as a Rider by Tupac. That song gets me really hyped when I'm in the gym. Also, Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold would be on my short list, but the intro is a little long. Will you cosplay as Bobby B? Well, considering I have a painting of the man's face on my wall, absolutely. Absolutely. Gods, I was strong then. You go into Jimmy's bookstore, you find a secret hidden door in the bookshelf, you take a secret by a secret booktube boxing arena.
Well, it's like an underground, like you have to pay to get in. It's like an underground betting ring.
Yeah, it's like Fight Club, you know. When does the album drop? I mean, listen, all I'm saying is it's not totally impossible that I might be a part of a remote metal band from around the world at some point. It could happen. Okay.
What are you going to be vocals? Like,
yeah, I can't play an instrument to save my life. Oh, hey, so Super Gains Bros. By the way, if anyone doesn't know Super Gains Bros, his name's Matt. He's actually a co-host of Heroes of the Horn, which is a Wheel of Time podcast here on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to it, I really, really encourage you to. I think that him and Ezra have some of the best chemistry of anybody I've ever listened to on any podcast, whether fantasy or not. But he asked, who saw the Wheel of Time photos? Well, our good friend Rid actually had a reaction video, and I was going to ask you, have you any more? That. No, watch it. She has this amazing bun. I loved it. I loved it. It felt raw. It felt
raw.
Listen, so Wheel of Time is not my favorite series, but seeing how excited you and others are, it's awesome. I love, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the show. I hope it's good. I think that there's a lot of positives that can come out of it, especially in an adaptation where we get to change a couple things. I think there's a lot of promise for it. But is there anything since your first reaction that you've thought of or that you maybe changed your mind on?
No, because, okay, well, I spent 3 hours the day after it came out on the Dusty Wheel talking about all the photos. So I feel like I got like all my thoughts out on that stream.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say go watch it because it's 3 hours long and it's Jen from Lesbian Nerdy just like fangirling out the whole time. And yeah, like, I don't know. I'm just excited for the show. And I'm a terrible person to ask about Wheel of Time things because at least related to the show, because I'm just like, even if it's bad, I'm probably still going to enjoy it. Like, yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I can't be like objective about it is the thing. So I don't know. I'm just like such a fangirl for the show, at least. Like, I don't.
Well, the fact that you can admit that is immediately tells me that like I can trust you.
Well, yeah. I think just like whenever you come into my videos about Wheel of Time, just understand that I am very biased. Yeah. Like I don't want to hide that fact.
You don't. I mean, if there's anything about you, Rid, it's that I feel like you're very authentic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for the show, and I know people have like said stuff like about the costumes, which I personally really like the costumes. What do you think? I'm really interested in hearing your take on it because you are like you're like kind of like on the outside looking in, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So what do you think about it?
RJ, thank you for the 449 spot, my European friend. Oh, by the way, RJ lives like very close to where they did all the Game of Thrones scene stuff.
Oh,
So
wow.
he saw stuff all the time. He was telling me about it in our Patreon hangout the other day, and it was really, really cool. But yeah, so how I felt about the pictures. So first off, I realized after I'm sitting there trying to formulate these opinions that I don't know shit about TV production and what looks good. Like I see people talk about color grading and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that stuff. What I will say, based on just a gut reaction, is I thought everyone looked very distinct, and I think that the big thing that stood out to me was there wasn't a lot of cohesion in the cast, but I think that's on purpose. The weird part about it is if you look at Lord of the Rings, specifically, the hobbits all had a pretty distinct look, but they had a almost like a universal theme about them. But I think that that's one of the ways that Wheel of Time, moved away from Tolkien's storytelling, is that, yeah, they all came from the Twin Rivers, but these people go in very different directions and have very different reactions to the situation that they're thrown into. And I think a lot of people say, oh, it looks like cosplayers. And I mean, sure they do, because it's a picture of them lined up in a field.
Yeah,
walking.
It's not the most natural thing. Like we were talking about this on the Dusty Wheel, and we were like, this definitely feels staged, like for the photo shoot specifically, because like no one walks like breast to breast, like, like with 7 people. That's just weird. And I'm pretty sure, like, if you look at other EW photo shoots, like they're all like staged. So I'm pretty sure that picture was also for the benefit of the photo shoot. And yeah, I really like the costumes. And I said this on Twitter. I think that like they're supposed to look kind of hokey. Like at least the Two Rivers people are supposed to look kind of like country bumpkins. They're not like nobles. They're supposed to look a little like, just like hillbillies.
Yeah, they're farmers.
Yeah.
They're in a place, and that they haven't even come and collect taxes in a while. Like they come around and collect taxes every few years. They're not even really a part of the kingdom. Like, are they really kneelers? Like, are they really kneeling?
Yeah.
So I think that's true. I think that holds steady. At the end of the day, I guess, at first I thought I didn't, my gut reaction to it at first was, I don't know if I like it. And then I thought about it and I said, this is pretty good. I really like the picture of Logain a lot.
I love that picture. That's not my favorite picture. It's not
really?
my favorite.
Well, I know what your favorite is.
Yeah.
Ran in Egwene.
Yeah, that's my favorite picture.
Elliot Brooks has a reaction video, and I watched it, and she was talking about some of the awkwardness wasn't captured in that picture, and I actually commented and I said, I'm glad. I think if we can get away from the I can't understand men, they're so dense. I can't understand women, they're always, you know what I mean? Like I felt like that happened a lot in Wheel of Time.
It happened too much.
Yes, and that's like my number one gripe with the series, honestly. And I actually would love if they moved away from that. Like obviously you still have conflict, right? I mean, the magic system is inherently that way, right?
There's so much other conflict that's more interesting than just like miscommunication.
Yes, or people making up events in their minds. Yes,
yeah.
I totally agree with you. So I was encouraged to see the picture of Rand and Egwene, because it shows me some sort of connection. That shows me, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can build that on screen, then later frustrations when things get hairy with who's in charge and who's calling the shot, I mean, that could be way more interesting. Andy said in the chat, he said this is a chance for the show to improve on the books, and I think that's true. And I'm not saying that to take away from the Wheel of Time, but for me personally, as someone who has enjoyed the books but has had also their downsides, it's like, oh man, like this could be really good. Like I could see a lot of the things that I didn't enjoy getting cut out for the show.
Yeah, and I think just like a lot of the things that are inherently like annoying about the books, like Robert Jordan's super like just incredibly detailed descriptions of clothing. It's like that won't translate to the show at all because it is a show. Yeah. So like stuff like that will just automatically be improved upon, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like the cage design for Loge was my favorite part of the new stills. Looked super otherworldly. I thought so too. I thought it was awesome. And when people were talking about the color grading and stuff, I don't think that's anything to worry about, folks. Like, I just don't see that being an issue.
Yeah, again, I think that was because it was a photo shoot. Like, I don't think that's what the show is going to actually look like.
Yeah, if there's anything I could say that is frustrating, is that I just want the damn show to come out.
Yeah,
like I'm just ready.
Why can't they tell us when it's coming out? Like in November? Like November when? Give us a date.
Yeah. Do you feel any apprehension about that? Apprehension about that at all?
Like not knowing the date?
Yeah, like the fact that they're being so restrictive about giving a date. Like, does that make you feel like things aren't going well, or do you feel like it's just for them to build hype?
I think they're just building hype because I mean it's such a big production, and I think Amazon has so much writing on it that they wouldn't like it. It just doesn't seem like they would risk something like that, you know. Like it's definitely just to build hype, and I think they know that the fans are like waiting on tenterhooks to like, you know, find out more information about the show, and they're definitely just like dragging it out, which is kind of annoying, but I guess that's their like marketing strategy or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see, you know, in the end how it ends up paying off. But that's what I got from the pictures. Rid is I just want the damn show. Yeah. I'm tired of looking at stills. Even the trailer at this point, I don't even know if it matters. Like, we're so close. I mean, of course I want the trailer, but like, just show me the show. Like, we're still gonna be wondering, right? Until we see the wheel of time come across the screen. You know what I mean? Oh my God. And I can't
believe it's coming. November seems so close.
Yet so far away.
Yeah. No, it just seems close to me because I'm like, wow, we're literally going to be like, by the end of the year, we're going to have seen Wheel of Time. Like, that's crazy to me.
I mean, it's an achievement in itself that they were able to get this done.
Yeah, especially because of COVID. Yeah. That's another thing. I think a lot of the photo shoot is like photoshopped. Mm-hmm. Like I think people were pointing out that there were like weird angles in the shadows or whatever, and I think that they must have been working under like COVID restrictions and all of that. So like, if the cast wasn't all able to get together for like a photo shoot and they had to like Photoshop stuff, like I'm kind of like, whatever. It's just a Photoshop, you know? Yeah. I'm saying Photoshop too many times. I don't know. It's just a bunch of pictures is what I'm trying to say. It's not like, it's not going to like make or break the show for me, but it's like definitely a very good like hype.
Yeah. I've been so neutral because that's how I feel. I'm like, it's a picture. I'm not going to sit there and analyze with the hand, like, you know.
Oh, well, I'm going to do that. But.
Well, but the difference is, right, is that this is something you've been waiting for forever, right? Mm-hmm. I did the same thing with the House of the Dragon pictures when they showed Matt Smith dressed up as a Targaryen. I was like, let's fucking go. Like, I was like, this is sick. You know, I'm looking at his sleeve and there's literally dragon symbols in it. I'm like, this is sick. So I get it.
In Logain's sleeves, there's also dragons. So it's, we awesome. Definitely, on the Dusty Wheel, we definitely like, we tore apart the pictures, but yeah, I think a lot of people are just like very, like I understand people like being wary about the show, but also I feel like some people are just like very negative about it, and I'm like, like,
yes.
Have you tried enjoying things?
Well, yeah, and I feel the same way about with like House of the Dragon. I see people, season 8 was terrible, and it's like, yeah, but like the problems.
I'm actually really excited for House of the Dragon.
It's gonna be sick. Dude, it's going to be so sick. It has a bigger budget than Game of Thrones, right? It has everything that was great about the show, other than the writers who honestly ruined season 7 and 8. So, like, there's no reason not to expect at least a great show from it. But you're right. Some people just can't enjoy things. And I root for every fantasy adaptation because Wheel of Time probably would not have gotten the budget that it has or the confidence that it has from a studio if Game of Thrones hadn't been successful on television.
That's true.
And Game of Thrones wouldn't exist if Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? Like, we build on the backs of these things. And it's not really necessarily important about which one we think is better or like, people ask me all the time, like, what do you prefer, Lord of the Rings movies or like Game of Thrones first 4 seasons? I'm like, I don't necessarily care. Like, there are different experiences. So
it's
I root
such a
for
good
everything.
time to be a fantasy fan right
Exactly.
now. Like I feel like people don't realize how awesome it is to be reading fantasy. Like because when I was a kid and like reading like Aragon, the Aragon movie was what we got. You know,
Yeah.
like that's what we had.
Excalibur back in the 80s.
That was the material we had, and now we have like massive, like literally $1 billion budget. Like, you know, like it's gonna be $1 billion by when it's all said and done for Wheel of Time for sure. Because like I think the first season is like 400 million, or was that the whole show? I don't know what I'm talking about. But
I think
like,
the Lord of the Rings had $500 million.
Yeah, so it's like insane that they're spending that much money, and we're like all complaining about it, like, oh, Game of Thrones, like stop, just enjoy it.
Yes, I agree with you. And folks, we have Foundation coming out this fall. We have the Dune movie, which I think is literally it could be the best movie of the year. And then we have Witcher. Season 2, which I think is going to be an improvement off season 1. We have Wheel of Time coming. We have House of the Dragon, and these are obviously next year. And then we have Lord of the Rings show. Like, I mean, this is pretty wild. The Greenbone Saga from Fonda Lee is also being adapted. Apparently, that's another thing coming down the pipe.
And even like the Green Knight that just came out, that was such a great like fantasy movie.
Yeah. I had some people in the chat 2 weeks ago that did not agree with that statement because I really liked it as well.
I liked it.
They were not they were not a fan, and we had it out and it was a good time. But I agree. I think the Green Knight, it's also saying, hey, there's some artistic value here in this genre that we can explore.
No, yeah, I love that.
I like this question here. Benjamin is always a great viewer. Ben, I'm glad to see you here. He says, for those not familiar with your channel, Riddhima, what are a bunch of your favorite books, series, and authors?
Well, thank you, Benjamin, for the question. Well, some of my favorite series, I love Wheel of Time, obviously, and you can expect a lot of Wheel of Time content just because the show is coming out soon. And I read the series when I was 13, and it's just like a very formative series for me. However, I also love Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings series, and I'm currently on Fitz and the Fool, so you can expect more Robin Hobb content on my channel because I really don't have that much right now. And I'm reading through Malazan right now. I'm on book 4, House of Chains, and that's been a lot of fun. And those are some of that's kind of where my channel is at right now. I'm in the middle of a lot of series, and I'm not really reading a ton of new stuff. So yeah, that's my channel.
Yeah, and I think recently you said that Robin Hobb is your favorite author now, right?
Yes.
I love to hear it.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So one series that, or not series, I guess it's the beginning of a series that you recommend, and I would love for you just to give a little bit of a talk about, is the Jasmine Throne. It's a new release this year, and read it, and I loved hearing her experience as she went through it. I didn't get any kind of spoilers or anything, but just the sound of it and how excited she was about it really sold me on. I went and picked it up like the day after she finished it. You want to tell people, because I feel like not a lot of people know about it, and I would love for you to give it like a little sales pitch.
Yes, I've been meaning to make a video about it for the longest time.
Been waiting.
Now, so you can also expect that soon. However, the Jasmine Throne is like this Indian-inspired fantasy by Tasha Suri that just came out this year. It's a recent release, and it's a very political kind of thriller vibe. And honestly, it's like I was talking to Clara, who is in the chat. Hi, Clara. We were talking about this on my Discord, and I would kind of describe it as like a gothic novel almost, but just like replace all the European aesthetics of like the gothic genre with like Indian aesthetics. And it's a very like slow moving political thriller, like I said. And there's just like, my favorite thing about the book was definitely the prose. I think that Tasha Suri is like a very underrated writer because I've never heard anyone talk about her.
Yeah. And
her writing is just so sensual. Like she really like brings in like scent and like feel and touch, and just like I was so surprised by how just vivid her writing was. And the book is about like political unrest in this fictional country that's been conquered by like a bigger, more powerful country. And one of the princesses of the ruling country is being imprisoned, and it's like this whole sort of there's also like a romance. I'm doing a terrible job of selling this.
No, you're
book.
good. I put you on the spot. You're fine.
It's okay. But yeah, I just really love, if you are looking for a book with beautiful prose and just like the most delicious, slow burning romance, you should definitely check it out. And there's a lot of like really interesting world building in that book, which usually world building isn't something that I kind of like pick up on in a book, but in this book it was really interesting and it was very unique. I feel like I haven't read a lot of books with the world building that happens in the Jasmine Throne, and a lot of the elements feel like really fresh. And I just think that Tasha Suri is a very underrated author.
Yeah, I whenever you were describing it as you went, I just thought that it sounded like something I needed to experience, and it sounded like something kind of fresh. And I'm always looking for something fresh. Sarah says, subscribe. This sounds gnarly and beautiful. I'd love to hear it. Great pitch, Riddhima. That's what she does. That's what she does. She is the conductor of the hype train. And I trust her opinion greatly. Another book that sounded really fresh to me. And I had people recommending it to me in my Discord last night. And I'm going to butcher the name, but I think it's Master of Jinn.
Oh, by P. Jelly Clark. Yeah, I don't know how to say his name.
I couldn't remember the author's name. So apparently it's really good, but also there's like 3 novellas that they have also written. 2 of them happen to be precursors to the Master of Jinn. And there were multiple people in the Discord that said it was really good. So that's one that I'm actually really excited to check out. I would love to hear if anyone in the chat here has actually read Master of Jinn by Clark.
I haven't read that one specifically, but I recently read Black God's Drums by that same author, and it was so good. It was fantastic. It's a novella, so it's really short. Yep.
Yeah, see that? Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very short, but like in that space, I think that he just accomplishes so much. Like there's more world building and like character work than in like some huge novels. Like it's so good. Yeah. And it's like this really interesting like alternate history set in New Orleans, which I think New Orleans is such a fantastic setting for a fantasy book because it's just like jazzy and like very magical. And yeah, it uses like Orisha magic, which I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's like a very interesting like cultural magic. And it was very like elemental and really cool novella. I definitely want to check out more work from Clark.
Yeah, I the fact that it's set in at least Master of Jinn is set in like Cairo, I think that is fascinating. I'm a big history fan. As everyone knows from my last episode with Alan, where we talked about history for an hour, and just the idea of fantasy set in Egypt is excellent. I love that idea. So that's like an author that's really jumped up on my list. And it seems like other people in the chat have also read it. I read the first one, Dead Jinn in Cairo, and enjoyed it. Very cool, very very cool. And the book that that Rib was just talking about is The Black God's Drums, which is a novella. If anyone was curious. No disclaimer asks thoughts on Dune, Jimmy. I just finished Dune a couple weeks back, and I am shocked. I'm shocked that it was written in the 60s. I always seem to say this with older sci-fi. I thought Asimov was way beyond his time with his vision, and Frank Herbert was way beyond his vision, not just with his world building, with his storytelling abilities. And it's ridiculous. Like, I did not realize how much came from Dune. I did not realize how much it has influenced not just sci-fi, but fantasy as well.
Yeah. The Aiel.
Yeah, the Aiel. The Karakan is definitely up there with whatever Paul. I can't remember what Paul's prophecy name is.
Muad'Dib.
That.
Well, I don't think that's his prophecy name. That's his like Fremen name. But
somebody in chat will correct me, I'm sure. The terminology in Doom is very hard to pronounce. The Bene Gesserit, is that how you say that? Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been watching Quinn's ideas, and he said it. I always said Bean Gesserit. which sounds ridiculous. So Bene Gesserit is definitely, and I mean Bene Gesserit is basically like Aes Sedai. So
yeah, and like Robert Jordan clearly was a big fan. There's definitely inspirations in Gurm storytelling that comes from Herbert, and Steven Erikson. His entire epigraph setups are based around Dune, from what I understand, especially in Gardens of the Moon, which I think is just awesome because I'm reading Malazan. So it's like, oh, wow, look at this influence that I'm literally watching happen before my eyes. So basically what I think about Dune, I think it's probably one of the most important books of all time. I think it's excellent. I thought it was the best chosen one trope I may have ever read. Can anyone let me know? Rid, you probably know. Is that the first chosen one trope? Like, no, I'm trying to remember. No, okay.
There's no way that's the first one. I mean, it might be the first
tales,
one.
Right?
Yeah, it might be the first one in like sci-fi, but no, the chosen one is like probably as old as
now
humans.
that I think about it, even
there were probably like Neanderthals sitting around in the cave, being like, "Yeah,
there's one."
Yeah, like
people bring fire on stick.
Yeah. That's such a like old trope. There's no way Dune was the first one, but I'm sure Dune was like the first to do a lot of things. Like, I think Dune is probably like I don't really know fantasy that well, but I feel like Dune, the way that it is like third person omniscient, probably influenced the way like fantasy is like very much like different POVs now, because I don't like. It's not a 1-to-1, but it's like, I think a lot of fantasy likes to come at like a situation from different points of view. And Dune being third person omniscient was really interesting because you could like, Herbert kind of like hopped around people's heads within a scene, which is very interesting. I really want to reread Dune because I think it would be interesting now, like as an adult, to read it and like kind of see how Herbert uses that technique to like build tension in a scene. But yeah, I read Dune when I was in high school, and I'm pretty sure like my tiny little brain probably didn't like comprehend half the stuff that was going on. It was just vibes for me.
Well, Rid, I'm 30 and I didn't understand everything that was going on. There were parts where I was like, I'm not sure what just happened. And I also feel like there's so many themes in Dune that I didn't grasp. I think it's one of the most rereadable books I've ever read in my life. I was just impressed. And that says a lot because I've been being recommended that book since I was 14. Like I've had that book hyped to the moon and back, and it still exceeded my expectations. I think a part of that has to do with the fact that I was reading Malazan at the same time, because in Gardens of Moon, there's a dinner scene that parallels the Dune dinner scene very well. The interesting thing about Herbert is, like you said, we have third person omniscient where we're getting all of the information. Whereas in Erickson's writing, we're not getting any of the information. Or a very scoped piece that might not even be true. But I also did feel like in Dune, I did get thrown into the deep end a little bit with the world building. And I thought the world building was just awesome. I'm not a big fan of the desert setting, but
really?
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been, which is why I was also apprehensive about Dead House Gates. I ended up loving that as well. So maybe I feel like my biases that I've grown up with, that I've said, it's kind of like, people say, oh, I don't like broccoli. It's like, but have you tried it in like the last 10 years? Like, no. And then you try and you're like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about sauerkraut.
I think I really love desert scenes. That's one of my favorite like fantasy. I don't like ship segments in fantasy. And Robin Hobb is one of the exceptions because like I feel like every single fantasy you started off, it's going great, and then they're like the characters get on a ship, and then there's like 10 chapters of them like being on a ship, and that's like the whole plot. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I just hate ship segments because it's always like, I don't know. I feel like fantasy authors just love, like, are they all like going on like yachts and stuff and like writing it off?
No, you know what it is?
Like, and they
it
just
feels
want
like
to
you have to do it. It feels like, because you're like, well, there's sea, so we got to travel. You know what I want? I want someone to go, let's get on a boat. And then everyone gets on the boat and everyone dies. Like as soon as they leave port, it sinks. It's worse than the Titanic. And then they go, well, that was a bad idea. We'll never do ships in this story again. I would, dude, there was a mention of a ship in Malazan. Like there was a hint of there might be like a pirate type. And I was like, oh, geez. Please don't.
I'm telling you, it's the ship. Like every time fantasy authors like get on a ship, they just like have to stay on it for forever. And I'm like, no, like I don't want to read about the like port and seaside. Like just stop.
But I say that, but I love Life Ship. You know,
Yeah.
Robin Hobb defeated a lot of my biases.
Yeah.
And you know what I will say that I think one of the most interesting characters in A Song of Ice and Fire is Euron. And Euron's Forsaken chapter that was leaked from the Winds of Winter is one of the most brutal scenes, and it's all seafaring. Which again, I didn't think I'd like, but I kind of like. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't like certain types of seafaring fantasy.
Okay. I mean,
do you like Pirates of the Caribbean?
I mean, yeah, it's cool.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I haven't watched them recently. Like all the ones that I've watched recently have been like the shitty like cash grab ones, and I obviously didn't like those. But I feel like the first one, the soundtrack is so good. Like I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, there are some like epic moments and stuff. Like Johnny Depp's really good in it for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That I was gonna say.
No.
Book 2 of the Gentleman Bastard series is the number one culprit for this.
No. Finish off the old timey stuff. You have to ride a horse or sail to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, I will say this is kind of a spoiler, but in book 2 of the Kingkiller Chronicles, there's a part where someone has to go somewhere on a boat, and Patrick Rothfuss, bless his heart, he literally summarizes the entire boat, and it's like I think it's like several months worth of a boat ride, and he summarizes it into like one paragraph.
My man.
Every time I read that, I'm just like, thank you, Patrick Rothfuss. This is why I'll still buy Doors of Stone whenever it comes out, because of that one paragraph.
That's amazing. That he's earned my respect. I've never read a page. Actually, that's not true. I read the first page of Name of the Wind. It was really good. Matt Kern says, well, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean in 10 years, Jimmy? Fair enough. He brought back my vegetable. Have you tried broccoli in 10 years? Oh, what a dork I am. Getting roasted by my own. Oh, that's actually amazing. I want to fancy that people have a travel by polar bears. I think that would be cool.
His Dark Materials.
That's a good one. Did you like that show, by the way?
Well, I watched. I don't know why I made that face. I watched like 2 episodes, and then my HBO Max subscription ran out. So
what can you do?
Yeah,
you didn't renew it, so it must not have been that good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get one soon because I really want to watch Mayor of Easttown.
Oh,
so I might finish
it. It's so good.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's why I want to get it. So I might finish it. But I like the books a lot. I haven't finished the last book in that trilogy. Yeah, but they're really interesting.
I've had it recommended to me. Stuart from my Patreon, he is really big in his Dark Materials, and he's recommended them to me. I guess a new book's coming out for it or something in the near future. So whenever the new one comes out, I may do a His Dark Materials read through. I might actually do that.
They're super easy to read because they're kids' books. So
yeah,
but they're so interesting because they really do grapple with a lot of like adult, like I don't know, I just like think the way that they take on religion is so interesting. Well, anything that has a take on religion, I'm in. That's just something I'm interested in. I love fantasy that tackles that in a good way. Fantasy talk. Chase, how's it going, man? Robin Hobb makes you feel like you're living on ships. Other authors just act like ships are boring and don't use the strength of the setting, but still write 10 chapters about it for the page count. I would agree. I mean, even the ships have characteristics in that. That's probably a huge reason why Live Ship works, because it's like a fresh take on that. Yeah. I actually, Caleb, I don't think that's unpopular. I think me and Red are just haters. Like I think a lot of people. I know Noelle's in the chat. Noelle loves Red Seas Under Red Skies. I think that's like one of her favorite books. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I loved the Lies of Locke Lamora so much, and then like I got to book 2, and I was like, not the ships. No. Oh man, the best Neil Bass fave happens in Iron Ozymandias Stonewielder. Ooh. Philip Chase out here shilling for Esselmont. I'm not shocked. I know. I was gonna say between you and him, I don't know who got me to read Malazan faster. And now, thanks. Now my TBR. I know. People apparently really, really like that. Philip Pullman was like, trust me, this is a kid's book, and then wrote a commentary on religion. Yeah, that's literally what happened. I know, like other kids' books are like, oh no, they have to save the world, and then Philip Pullman is like, let's fight God. Like that's literally he's like, let's fight God himself.
I'll tell you what, Malazan's really changed my opinion on gods and fantasy because I've never been big into deities like existing in the world. I feel like it takes a little bit of the human aspect out, but the power struggle between humans and gods in Malazan has totally changed my mind. I think it's one of the most impressive things that Erickson's actually accomplished for me in 2.5 to maybe 3/4 books now, is that I really, really like it. Another person, it's not deity, but religion based. I just read The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee, and I am enthralled by his commentary on religion and the way that he's inspecting it. It is one of the most grim, gritty books I've ever read in my life. I would say it feels like an R-rated Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is probably how I'm going. I'm going to do a review for it here on the channel. That's probably what my tagline will be for it. But man, Brian Lee Durfee, he's an ex-Mormon. And I think he has a lot of feelings about. Actually, Brian Lee Durfee's story is fascinating. He is an adopted son of two wonderful people. He grew up, I believe it was. I wish I had the book. I believe he grew up in Alaska, and then he moved to Utah. He was a Mormon for a decent amount of time, and then he became an ex-Mormon. And he's just a really interesting guy. I think it's hard to put a beat on Brian Lee Durfee because he's just an individual. And I was so impressed with The Forgetting Moon. I really enjoyed his prose, very Tad Williams, Robin Jordan-esque with his descriptions. And he was not afraid to take some chances and talk about religion. I think it's really good. And I've heard his sequel, The Blackest Heart, one, it's massive. But two, I've heard that it is some of, if not the best religion commentary in fantasy. So I'm really excited to read his book 2. I didn't think book 1 was perfect, but I thought it was damn good. That was really, really good. I love religion and fantasy. Like
me too.
It's right up my alley.
Yeah.
I
think that's something that's like kind of lacking in Wheel of Time is because of the way the world building is, there's not a whole lot of like religious stuff going on. Because like, I guess like if it's not a spoiler to say that they're like, actually never mind. I won't go into it, but because of the way that the world building is set up in Wheel of Time, there's not a whole lot of religion. Yeah, and it's kind of like an underutilized aspect of the series.
So I obviously didn't get too far into it, but as someone who's only read 5 books, what I'm kind of hoping for, I guess, and I don't know if it ever happens, is I was kind of expecting the Dragon Reborn to be the center of a religion. I was kind of hoping that would happen, and I thought that would
read and find out.
All right, well, fair enough. But I will say, through the first 5 books, I kind of felt that way. Like I was
actually, now that you said that, there are some really interesting things that happen in Wheel of Time that are kind of religious, but
I feel like the IEL kind of look at the Dragon Reborn, the Carcon, as there's
a lot of prophecies. Yeah.
Yes. And I love me some prophecies. Oh my. Yeah.
There's actually a really, really interesting storyline. But it kind of gets dragged out. We don't have to go into it. But now that you say that, I actually think there are some. It does explore religion, but like in like a pair, like to the side. Like it's like religion, but like indirectly.
Yeah. Which is also cool, right? Whenever you can pull. I'll tell you what, I just read Piranesi by Susanna Clark. And
I've been wanting to read.
Easiest read I've ever had in my life. She doesn't stumble over a single word. Easily, I think on Kindle it's 248 pages. Paperback, hardback's like 300 pages. You could easily read in a day. I don't understand how Susanna Clark did it, but it feels autonomous the way she wrote it. It is the smoothest writing I've ever read in my life. Even if you didn't like the book, you would have to be able to nod your cap and say, my goodness, like what a book that was. And not to give anything away, but all it's a mystery. The whole book's a mystery. I was on page like 80 of like 246, and my wife was like, "What's the book about?" I said, "I have no idea. I have no idea what's happening. There's a house, there's some water, and there's some seaweed. That's all I got so far in 80 pages. And it's just very nebulous, right? And I think and I'm going to talk about this more in my review. But I felt like the book was a commentary on cult mentality. But it is a book that is not in your face about it. And I'm very curious. I can't wait to make that review. Actually, I'm extremely interested to see what people thought the parallels were to our world. And I can't really talk about it anymore because there's spoilers. It's one of those books like you can't even talk about it. Like you just can't talk about it. But you should read it, Rid. You should read it immediately.
I do. I want to read it so bad. I'm just like a slow reader now. When I was a kid, I used to get through books so fast, and now I'm like on the same book for several weeks. So
yeah,
it takes me forever.
I pretty much read 100 pages a day, no matter what.
Oh, Alistair Reynolds.
Yeah, you know what? This is good. Also, Dr. Philip Chase agrees with me. Piranesi is good. When I agree with him, I call him Doctor. I still feel slightly melancholic and peaceful when I think of it. Yes, it is a book that I could reread once a year for the rest of my life. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. All right, Rid, sell me. Alistair Reynolds. I know Alex Nevaez has read this, and I think he's a pretty big fan. I think he has some criticisms, but it seems like lately I've been reading a lot about Reynolds. So what's the skinny?
Okay, so
Who says skinny?
I don't believe I've read his like most popular series, but I've read Pushing Ice, which is probably my favorite sci-fi book of all time. And I think that if you like The Expanse, which I have not read The Expanse, but I've watched the first season of the show. And if you like the sort of like human conflict that comes into sci-fi a lot, where I don't know, there's something about like space where it just brings out like these very like primal human like conflicts. I don't know how to describe it, where it feels like very intense. And that's what Pushing Ice is to me. Like it brings out these like very interesting questions about humanity. And basically Pushing Ice follows this, like they're an asteroid miners. That's why it's called Pushing Ice, because they're like pushing ice. Literally, they go to asteroids and they mine these asteroids. And I don't remember exactly because it's been a while since I've read the book, but basically they end up coming into contact with this alien technology, which causes them to like travel faster than light. And then
that's impossible.
Yeah. So they're like in contact with this alien technology, and then they basically are separated from all of humanity. And there's this very interesting conflict between the main character, who is a woman, and this other woman on the ship who starts out as her best friend, and then they kind of like devolve into like this having a very fraught relationship, and it's very, very intense. And
so this is a standalone?
I think it might be the start of a series. I think it works as a standalone, because I haven't read any other books in that series. So
because I could get down with this. This sounds fun.
So, and yeah, it's just very interesting. And I love it because it's that thing with sci-fi where it just melds like the human conflict, but also like explores very, very interesting like questions about technology and like time travel. And I don't know, it just made me like question everything. You know, it was one of those books that I really thought about, and I still think about to this day, like just about humanity and like what it means to be human.
Yeah, when a book makes me think about it afterwards, it will immediately go up in my rankings, right?
Yeah.
So hearing that's awesome. If you like alien archaeology, you'll like. I do. Pushing Ice is great.
If you're looking for something that's a little more like fun, I would highly recommend Revenger, which is it's like a space pirate story. So it's very, very like it's just the vibes are just so good, and it is a revenge story. It's about these two sisters, and one of them gets kidnapped by a pirate, like a space pirate. And it's kind of like a similar, not a similar vibe at all, but it's like very much like it's more fast paced, and it's just fun. There's like space battles and all of that, and it's still pretty interesting. Like it still explores a lot of like technology and stuff like that. But if you're looking for something a little more fun, I would recommend Revenger. But Pushing Ice is definitely like one of the best books I've ever read.
I think the thing about sci-fi, like, I like that you brought it up, the fact that there's like that human conflict, and there's a lot of questions to be postured. And I think it comes from the fact that inherently as human beings, we are explorers. We are nomadic. We've moved around. We know that through history. And I think when you start to enter the realm of space, it's kind of like finding the torch in the cave again. And it's like building that first, sailing ship to a brave new world and all this stuff. Yeah. And I think it's an interesting lens to do this through, this human conflict, because it is very primal. Even though we're using the most cutting edge of technology, we are going into the land of the unknown. And a lot of the primal things about us that we've had happen through evolution tend to flex out. It tends to come to the forefront because, there's places to claim, and also there's just a lot of things we don't understand yet. So it's interesting that the brink of our technology becomes extremely archaic when we end up meeting another race in sci-fi or just space travel in general, something we don't understand. So I think it just brings us back into the exploring days of the human race, but in a totally different fashion. They're eating liquefied steak and shit like that. But I've always thought of that in The Expanse. The proto-molecule is the fire in the cave. That's how I've always thought of that as. I love The Expanse. And Alistair Reynolds sounds like he'd be right up my alley.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, that's it. That's really encouraging that he has standalones as well, because for me, with sci-fi, I tend to lean away from big series in sci-fi. I like to get in and get out. Just how I've been. Though with Dune, I'm going to read the first 4. I think I've come to that conclusion. I don't know when, but I kind of hope to. But yeah, someone said Reading Rainbow, the best name in YouTube. Spaceships, sailing ships. I
for sure.
Agree totally. So you say that's probably your favorite sci-fi of all time?
Definitely.
Wow. I think right now mine is the trendy Dune, but I'm also not very well read in sci-fi, which is something I hope to change. Chase says that's a good point about the primal thing, Jimmy, especially because death is always just one little failure or mistake away. Yeah, I was talking to my wife the other day about getting a cut on your foot would have been the end of you back in the day. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I really like about, I know everyone is kind of over medieval fantasy, but it's one thing I like, and it doesn't have to be medieval, right? It could be in Cairo, it could be in Mesopotamia. But I like that the stakes can be raised in low fantasy set way back in the day. I don't know. It just raises the stakes without having to embellish a lot of things. And space is like that, right? You get a little breach in your hull, and all of a sudden you can't breathe anymore, and your eyeballs start, popping out of your head.
Yeah, sci-fi is a genre that I really want to explore more. After I read A Memory Called Empire, I really fell in love with that book, and it's a book that I feel like I like it more now than I did when I finished it. So I feel like it really grew on me, and I've been in the middle of the sequel forever, so I need to get back on that. But what I read of the sequel was so good because it was already right out the gate. We were getting this it's very political. A Memory Called Empire, which is my favorite thing in fantasy.
You're real big into it.
I love that. I just love the drama of it all. I'm just humans being shitty to one another, stabbing each other in the back. Give me all of that. I love that. And A Memory Called Empire definitely has a lot of that. So yeah, sci-fi is something I need to get more into.
Yeah, I am definitely underread in sci-fi, and it's something I would like to do. I remember when I reviewed Foundation, you commented on it and were like, oh, this is something I might try one day. I think that was one of the first times we had actually commented back and forth, if I'm not mistaken. But I was a very big fan of Foundation, and I still am.
I think I started it a long time ago, but I never actually finished it.
I mean, the fact that he started writing that in the 40s is just banana sandwich to me. There's a lot of people saying I'm not over medieval. I'm not either. I it's my favorite. Isn't fantasy always medieval? Not always. Actually, here's a call out, and Rid, I don't know if you know this answer. Can anyone find me a fantasy story set in Mesopotamia era? Preferably not Gilgamesh retold.
I was gonna say,
yeah, like preferably something different. I think the idea of like the dawn of humanity and the first civilization.
I swear to God, I just thought of one.
Oh, come on,
there's one. I feel like Guy Gavriel Kay might have written one.
I will literally add that to my TBR in like
the
next 2 months.
Okay, don't quote me on that.
I'm quoting.
I think Tigana is supposed to be Italian Renaissance.
I believe that's correct.
So
yeah,
it's not Mesopotamia.
Have you read some GGK?
No, but I have Tigana, but I haven't read it.
Yeah,
yet.
I've been trying to fit it in somewhere. It's just hard. It's just hard to figure it out. I've heard Tigana's phenomenal. People love it. Alan, are you reading it right now, Alan? That's cool. I didn't know that. I know Jake Bishop is a very, very big fan. I don't see anybody saying that they know any Mesopotamia fantasy. I'm very disappointed.
There was a thread on r/fantasy like a couple weeks ago about that. So maybe if you want to go on there.
Yeah, I'll have to do a search. CJS says, "Have you read Long Price Quartet, Rid?" I already know the answer, but I'm gonna be happy for people to encourage you to read it.
What is that? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Let me just crack my fingers here. All right. So the funny thing is, I actually haven't read Long Price Quartet either. However, it's written by Daniel Abraham, which is
wait, is that Dagger and Coin?
No, this is his other one. Apparently, and I've heard this from multiple people, it is like one of the most unique original fantasies of all time. There's a lot of, I believe, dancing and singing. I might be wrong about that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. Okay, so Alan read this and has recommended it so heavy on Booktube. He has caused I'm not kidding you. He has caused a shortage in the Long Price Quartet physical prints.
My God.
They're literally hard to find. Wow. And it's all correlated to the day he started talking about it.
Wow.
Which I believe, because the Dagger and the Coin it's a little better now. It was very hard to get in print as well because it's not a huge hit. Mm-hmm. But Daniel Abraham, one half of James A.S.A. Corey, who wrote The Expanse and is essentially Gurm's protege. Long Price Quartet, I've heard, is so good. Alan,
we'll have to. Well, I don't know when I'm going to get to it because I already own the first book of the Dagger and Coin, so that's probably what I'll get to first. But
yeah,
especially since you have recommended it so much.
Yeah, and Alan's reading the Dagger and the Coin right now, and I'm supposed to read the Long Price Quartet so we could exchange. And I haven't made good on my. It's not.
Yeah, I've just stopped saying like, "Oh, let's buddy read," because I never do it.
Well, we did read Fool's Assassin, and that was fun.
That was fun, but then I felt behind. Yeah, I was moving.
And I'm a maniac and can't stop once I start something because I have a problem. Yeah, so it's not dancing, it's posing. They use gestures to convey emotion.
Oh, it's kind of like, there's something in Wheel of Time like that.
Sorry.
Sorry, not to make everything about Wheel of Time.
No,
but
you can absolutely.
That's very interesting. I like that.
Oh my goodness, it's a dragon. A critical dragon. Slaves of the Shinar by Justin Allen is pretty much Mesopotamia. Thank you. That's awesome. Good to hear. I've literally been asking and looking for that. Not horrendously hard, but it's good to actually have one. I'll have to remember that. If someone here is in my Discord, write that to me in Discord so I don't forget. For anyone who wants to read Guy Gavriel Kay and Alex Neves Discord, a few people are all reading The Lions of Al Rassan in September. Very cool. Very cool. Philip is telling Alan to tell us about Long Price Quartet in all caps. The thing about Daniel Abraham is he starts out very slow. And I don't mind that. I love a slow start. Yeah, it's my favorite. Because it makes it so much easier to believe the climax of a story, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that about Robin Hobb books because I feel like her books always start off with just like Fitz doing the most mundane stuff, and it's like, oh my God, we have to go to the town to get bread and boots and stuff, and then like it slowly like builds up, and it's so good.
Yeah, I actually feel like Abraham is very Hobb-like in that regard, where he will take time to set the tone, and then it's like once that tone is set, you better be ready for all of the impact, especially when it comes to characters. Man, I love Hobb book ones. Oh my God. They're so good.
Yeah.
Alan says, speaking of the Long Price Quartet, he says, it has some amazing character work. The later books elevate the first two like none I've ever seen. There is no question Abraham planned book 4 from the first words of book 1. And that is also true with The Dagger and the Coin. The prologue of The Dagger and the Coin, a man bleeds spiders. And there's a reason. It's creepy. Oh, interesting. There's a Star Trek race that uses gestures too.
Oh.
I wonder if that's where he got it from. And Chase from Face Talk says, drink every time Rid says Wheel of Time. I'm already drunk.
Sorry,
awesome.
I need to read more books.
No, I love it. So how did you come up? Actually, this is a question I wanted to ask you. How did you come upon Wheel of Time? Like, how did you find it?
Yeah, so I read Aragon when I was in 4th grade, and I went online and I like kind of searched it up. I don't remember why I was like Googling it or whatever. I think I was probably like looking for the next book, and this fan website came up for like the Aragon series, and there was like a really huge like fan base. Or not huge, but it was like very dedicated. And they had these forums called the Inheritance forums, and there were just like a lot of fantasy fans in there, and they would talk about fantasy and obviously like Aragon, the Inheritance cycle. And I just like started going on that website like every day, and like people in there talked about Wheel of Time, and I started reading it because everyone said it was really good. And that was like the summer between 6th and 7th grade.
Wow, so you were young, right? That's like 12 or 13.
Yeah, I think that's why I like it so much, because I feel like if I were to read Wheel of Time now, there would be a lot of things about it that I would not appreciate. Mm-hmm. And I probably, like, for me, Wheel of Time is like so, it just like formed me, like my personality for better or worse in some ways. And also just like my taste in fantasy is like very influenced by Robert Jordan's writing. And yeah.
When you say it crafted your personality, what impact on your personality did it have?
I don't know. It's hard to quantify, but I don't know. Like I feel like it was like, I cannot describe to you, like I was obsessed with Wheel of Time. I remember this is really weird, but I used to sit in the garage, like, because we didn't use our garage as a garage. My mom like made it into like a little play area. Mm-hmm. So like I would like sit in the garage and read it like all day. And like I was so obsessed with it. And like I would just think about it all the time. Like it consumed my life for so long. And I was like, I just loved the series so much. And I loved Egwene especially. Like there's a scene in I don't remember what book, but there's like a particular scene where, oh man, I can't get into it because of spoilers, but there's just like like I just admired her so much. And I remember when I found out that Robert Jordan had died, I think I was like 12 or something, and I literally was crying. I was like, what? He's dead? I was like, I was so emotional about it. And it's just like, I think when you're a kid, you just like have very intense feelings about every kid. Like, just has that one thing that they were really obsessed about, like when you were that age, like you're just like, it just consumes your life. And for me, that was Wheel of Time. So yeah.
I think that's awesome. Also, Danny, thank you so much for the 5 spot, my man. I appreciate you. Well, what's interesting is I feel like what the story you just told, we all have that story, right? Of something that consumed us and swallowed us. I think a lot of people, it's Harry Potter. For the majority of us in this age bracket, the fact that yours is Wheel of Time is so interesting to me, and it makes total sense because there's so many things to latch onto in Wheel of Time.
Yeah, and I mean, Wheel of Time is like very YA. I know this is like such a controversial thing to say, but especially the first, like, Eye of the World is so YA. Like, oh my god, like Rand and Egwene, like all of that is just like it's very much like a coming of age story at the beginning, and obviously it diverges into into like a very large, sprawling and thing, and it explores a lot of like very adult themes. I wouldn't say Wheel of Time is YA overall, but I would definitely say that the first few books are YA adjacent. And yeah, like for me, that it really drew me in, and yeah.
And what about fantasy? Because like, I mean, you're intelligent. You obviously are a very comprehensive reader. Like, I feel like when I want to know what the deeper meaning was, I go to Rid or Philip every time.
Thank you.
Why?
I really appreciate that, because lately I've been feeling like I don't have anything interesting to say about the books I read. So I appreciate you saying that.
Listen, bro, listen. So like, you're doing these for all my Malazan people, listen up, okay? We have AP in the chat, Critical Dragon. We have Dr. Philip Chase. We have Riddhima. We have the best people when it comes to Malazan, right? And then, you know, there's this car. Everybody. There's so many people that do this amazing content, and it's all so deep in the themes. You know, and Andy Smith puts on a 3-piece and tells me about postmodernism, and I'm like, I think I understand. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm going to be the guy. It's like, there was a dragon. It was sick. There was a hair shirt that might have or might not have been alive. Oh my god! You know,
wait, what? The hair shirt was alive?
Maybe.
What?
Maybe. There's a. We'll talk off.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little detail about it that I think I caught. But I really do admire how much you're able to comprehend and how much you're able to pull out. I think that your Felsen video is your best video, one of the best videos I've ever seen on Booktube. Made me think about Felsen, and actually it made me think of Bodden in a totally different way. Not so much Felsen, because I was on Team Felsen. However, yeah, I just admire the amount of comprehension that you have when you read, because I am not that person. Like, I read Dune and I was like, sandworm, like sick, you know, like I was in. And, you know, I pick up on some stuff. But I'm definitely nowhere near the level. And you should never, ever, ever doubt yourself, because I think that you provide. No, I really do. I think you provide a very good perspective for a lot of different people. And I'm glad that I get to see things through your eyes whenever you post content. So don't ever doubt yourself in the value or the validity of what you're posting.
Jeremy, come on.
I mean, listen, you're talking to the guy who did a four book review for John Gwen, and every time I was like, you know, the battle happened, and I was just like, yeah, man. You know? and you know what? It is what it is, and some people really got behind that. So no matter what we bring to the table, I think there is an audience obviously out there that wants to be here. I never thought this show would do anything. I thought that I just wanted to go live, talk to my friends. And I never thought in a million years I'd have, 50 people watching me on a Friday night spending. By the way, thank you all so much. It's really inspiring. And so it's inspiring to me to see someone taking a different approach like you do. My question for you is, how did you get, like, why fantasy? Because like I could see you reading literary fiction or even nonfiction. Like, I could see you just providing so much quality. So why are we so fortunate to have you here in the sci-fi fantasy community?
I'm going to take a second to think.
I missed a ton of chats. You're good.
I love fantasy. It's hard to say why, because I don't know. Fantasy to me is just, it's almost like, I feel like the things that you fantasize about and things that you like, the way that you react to fantasy like says so much more about you than like your real world personality. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, if there's just something so wonderful about fantasy. It makes me feel like a kid. But at the same time, I feel like fantasy also tells me so much about like human just being. I don't know how to explain it. There's something so childlike about fantasy. Like, it fills me with so much wonder. But also at the same time, I think that fantasy has taught me so much about like being a good person.
Yeah, I totally agree. Empathy. Yeah.
Like, I've learned so much from fantasy about how to conduct myself, how to be a good friend. Like, I've learned so much about friendship from fantasy, and there's so many friendships in fantasy that I like would like to model myself after. Like, I guess a really good one that I read recently, like Stormlight Archive. I think a lot of people love that so much because they see it and they relate to it. And it's almost like the fact that it's fantasy makes it easier for people to talk about things that are hard to talk about otherwise.
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah, I just love it. And it's so cool. Like there's something so earnest about just being like, yeah, dragons are awesome. And like, I'm a 22-year-old adult woman who loves reading about like people doing magic in her free time. Like I don't, there's no pretense to it. I will say I really do love literary fiction, but, and I haven't, like every time I read literary fiction, I wish I read more of it, but like, there's just something about fantasy that keeps me coming back to it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I think fantasy is so human. Like I feel like humans from the beginning of time are just like sitting around like bored, just like, yo, what if that lizard had wings and it could fly? Like, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just like so simple, and it's so like it's just so human. Like I think that you could go back 10,000 years and they would love Lord of the Rings, but they wouldn't love, like, you know, like you could tell Lord of the Rings to like a caveman. If you could somehow communicate that story to a caveman, he would love that story. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's so like, it just transcends time and space. Like, but you couldn't tell him like about, you couldn't tell a caveman about The Office. He wouldn't understand it. Like, you know, like he wouldn't get it. Like, he's like, what? You know? Yeah. But like, if you told him Lord of the Rings, if you could somehow communicate it to him, he'd be like, yeah, that's pretty awesome, dude. Like, I don't know.
Well, sense. I'm seeing so many good things just flying up in chat. A lot of support for you, by the way, which is always great. Fantasy really encourages people to be empathetic. I think I would agree with that. For men to become heroes, snakes must become dragons. Let's go. That is blood pumping goodness. Hello, Nat. And Derry says, fantasy brings a great understanding of needing to respect other cultures and the natural world. Mm-hmm. And I think that is it. You know, it kind of, it kind of resets everything a little bit, right? And you take a step backwards. And I think that it provides a good lens. Oh God, imagine explaining allomancy to a caveman. That is really funny. You can barely explain it to me.
I feel like if you could explain it to him and he's like, dude, if you swallow this rock, you can fly. He'd be like, dude, I'm so down.
I can't believe I didn't fall for that in 6th grade.
Yeah. Like the caveman would be like, I love this. Like, tell me more.
I used to eat pennies. Yeah.
Yeah. Pennies look like they taste good.
They don't. I mean, they don't. I can confirm. As I did when I was younger, but they do look appetizing. There's something about Abe Lincoln. I don't know. Just eat them up, you know. Matt says, growing your imagination will grow your understanding. Yeah. You know what? I think that the thing about fantasy, and I think why it's hard to explain it, is I sit down with a book. I open up Malazan. I say, okay, I'm going to escape to my fantasy world. I'm going to have a good time with old Whiskey Jack and the crew. And you pull back the guys a little bit and you say, you know, I'm going to settle into this silly story and I'm going to have fun. And it's almost a bait and switch. A lot of fantasy will rope you in with the dragon on the cover, and then it brings you in and it tells you a very intimate human story that is told in a medium where you don't even realize what's happening. And I feel like this is very true with Robin Hobb specifically. She would bait me in with a wolf companion, and then all of a sudden I realized that this relationship is a massive commentary about people I've cared about all my life, that are telling me to live in the moment and quit worrying about things. Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a bait and switch from the old fantasy genre and sci-fi included, and I'm happy for it because I read to relieve stress. And a lot of times when you think relax and relieve stress, you don't expect to grow as a person when you're doing those things, right? It just so happens that the fantasy genre and the themes that it explores do lend itself to growth as a human being and empathy. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about spending my time. I spend a lot of time reading, if you guys couldn't guess. And I think that is the beauty of it to me and the dragons.
Fantasy is like, it's the best form of catharsis I've ever experienced.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I think that, and it can be different things to different people. Like some days I go in and I'm looking for stuff out of my fantasy. Some days I'm looking to get away, which is valid.
Yeah.
Suit to a Caveman would be a great video series.
You should do that.
Yeah, we should do that. I'll be the caveman, and you can explain to me Dune and Wheel of Time, and I'll just have a torch. A lot of torch talk tonight.
Yeah.
I tried to explain Outlands to my wife, and she just nope. I'm yelling constantly at my wife about the books I'm reading, and she's like, "What? They did what?" Mm-hmm. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. Neil Gaiman.
Wow. Love that.
I might get that tatted.
I love that.
On my forehead. The moment Lucy stepped through the wardrobe and snow appeared, I was done.
Oh, is that Narnia? I love Narnia. Narnia is kind of, I'm not going to say it's underrated because it's not, but I actually really loved Narnia as a kid.
A lot of people did. My friend Ezra, who I brought on, who's the other half of Heroes of the Horn, he loves it. I actually think he has a C.S. Lewis podcast now, I think, for them.
Interesting.
But he loves it. And apparently C.S. Lewis's vocabulary is phenomenal, and his prose is very good.
I remember really enjoying those books, and they're like surprisingly funny, and like, I don't know, they're fun books to read as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and also there's some beautiful editions. I actually saw one at the used bookstore that was like a limited print from like 1997. Like Boston College did it or something.
Oh.
But it was like $400. I was like, I don't know.
I don't know about Narnia.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, if I haven't read it yet. And I never saw the movies.
Oh, the movies they're not bad. They're fun.
I've heard the first one's good, and then after that, it all can come apart at the seams.
I like the one with Ben Barnes just because Ben Barnes is really hot.
Ben Barnes.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about Ben Barnes, and I barely know anything about him.
Did you watch Shadow and Bone?
I watched the first 2 episodes, thought it was really good, but I'm very bad at sticking with shows.
Me too.
Did you finish it?
I did, actually. It's like one of the only shows I've watched all the way through in like the past 2 years.
What was your opinion of it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Like I didn't make a video about it because I haven't read the books, and I just felt like I didn't have that much stuff to say about it. Like I watched it and I was like, this is pretty good. And it made me, I think a lot of people said that it improved upon the books. So it made me really excited for Wheel of Time because hopefully that's like something that I want Wheel of Time to do.
Yeah.
Even though I love Wheel of Time, but like it was just, I thought it was really fresh. The only thing that bothered me about the show was that it was so dark. There were scenes where I just could not see shit. Like I was like, hello, can we like turn the lights on a little bit?
Netflix has a thing where they just put this tone on all of their stuff, all their original stuff, and it is so dark. I have a calibrated OLED television, and so don't anyone give me that shit. The Long Night episode everyone hates in Game of Thrones. I'll be honest, I was able to see it because I have a calibrated OLED TV. I understand why a lot of other people couldn't, and I'd be mad too. Literally Shadow and Bone, like the first 2 episodes, I was like, I can't see anything.
It's
like,
so dark.
Yeah.
With
that said, I thought there was a lot of really good cinematic stuff. Like I thought it was very well done. I'm not shitting on the show. I'm agreeing. I thought it was.
I watched it on my iPad, so nice. I was like, hello, can I see? I cannot see anything.
I see people saying that AP Critical Dragon should be on Chatting with Nuts. AP, would you like to be my next guest? You're absolutely welcome, Don. 100%, dude. I would love to have you on. I'd like to get you on for some Malazan talk. Which, by the way, Red, our Gardens of the Moon talk was very fun, wasn't it?
It was.
It was really good, and it was me forgetting names and looking like a dunce. But I thought it was a good vibe. I thought we had a good time.
It was. I had a good time too. It was really. I just like talking about books. So.
Yeah, me too. Especially Malazan does generate a lot of conversation, right? Like there's especially. Oh my god. Look at this. So I take notes, right? And I'm doing spoilers from Memories of Ice on in Malazan. Dude, look how many notes I have for the first 3.
Whoa.
Dude,
wow.
Look at this.
That's a lot of notes.
I'm still going. This is stuff I need to cover in my review. I mean, I don't know how it's not going to be like an hour review. But that is the kind of series
Malazan fans. Yeah, Malazan fans love that stuff. So even if you make it an hour long, they'll watch the whole thing.
I surely hope so, because it's going to take so long to edit.
Okay, can we take like a quick break? Because I need to go use the bathroom.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to catch up with chat. Yeah,
I'll
feel
be
free.
back.
I'll probably go after you. I'm totally in for Critical Dragon on Jimmy's show. Yeah, I respect AP tremendously. He is literally a golden standard when it comes to dissecting books, but even more so than that, like storytelling. That's what I really like about AP's content. AP is one of those people I watch and I'm just like, what am I doing here? He's got it covered, man. He's got it covered. A show I have seen. Let's just leave it at that. The dragon has spoken. A Critical Dragon on Chatting with Nuts by popular demand. I'm in. AP, you're getting pressured. We'll have to figure out the time zone thing because I know you can't be up, it's probably what, like 2 o'clock your time, maybe later. I'm not sure. I don't know if AP can talk. I disagree. I think he absolutely could. Being able to see yourself in the screen when the scene lighting is so dark, no thank you, please. I agree. I think people take it a little extreme. Jimmy has to promise to talk about Hobb with AP, please. Oh, I'd love to. All right. I would love to be on the show. All right. I will hit you up and we'll get it planned out in 2 weeks. We do this every other week. In 2 weeks, we will be having AP on. You heard it here first. As long as we can make it work out, obviously, with your schedule and everything. Jimmy, can you please elaborate on the hair shirt? Do people care if I give a slight spoiler from Malazan? Because I'll say what it is. I can tell you what it is, and it doesn't spoil anything. I actually think it's a really good, interesting thing to say about Malazan because when I was talking to Lost in Discovery, he said this is the first thing he's ever heard that made him want to read Malazan. What was your hair shirt take? I don't know if it's such a take. I was just mentioning it. All right. If you're super sensitive to Malazan spoilers, you want to plug your ears. But I'll be honest with you, it's not really a spoiler. Hello, Rid.
Hello,
I'm about to tell people about a certain shirt in Malazan because this is the first thing that has ever got Christian interested in reading Malazan. And if you haven't read Malazan, just know that there is a sorcerer who wears a shirt made of his dead mother's hair.
It's so weird. Like,
it's amazing, and it smells
how
bad.
did he think of it? Like, how did Erickson think of that? Like,
I think it's based on Ed Gein. So Ed Gein is the inspiration for Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Ed Gein would dig up bodies from the local cemetery and make furniture out of their remains. And yeah, I know this is really grim stuff. I'm definitely getting demonetized, but I wonder if that could be the motivation. Like maybe Erickson's really big into Ed Gein. I don't know.
Because to me, it's like almost like he's just like really attached to his mom. Like it's not like a weird thing, but it's weird, but it's not like a weird thing. You know what I mean?
Well, there is a part, where someone tells him, you need to go and enjoy your life. Your mother's not always watching. And then at that moment, it seems that a hand slaps him. So I think there's more to the shirt than meets the eye.
Maybe. I need to reread this stuff. I did not pick up on that at all. I was just like, "Aw."
I wrote it down in my notes. I said, "What the like? What in the world?"
I need to start keeping a reading journal. I was doing it for a while and then I stopped. But
Aesthetics wore hair shirts.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, Rid, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like if you were like, "What?" Yeah, I was telling people, this isn't really a spoiler, but it's something that might get you interested in Malazan. There's a dude wearing a shirt of his dead mother's hair. There is historical precedent. See, this is why we gotta have AP on, because apparently
there is historical precedent.
Apparently, there were just dudes walking around with their dead mom's hair on their chest, which is bizarre. But you know what? We're weird.
Were the ascetics wearing their dead mom's hair, or was it just hair in general?
Yeah, that's a good distinction.
That's kind of like a step further.
Of all of the things that I guess. Hey, what's up, Scott? It's a better late than never. We're happy to have you, man. Me and Scott have 99% matching book opinions for the most part. He's like one of those people I've found in the community. Have you found that person where you're just like damn near transparent or, parallel with them?
I think Clara and I have pretty similar tastes. Actually.
I was going to say, I felt like Clara was yours.
Yeah.
Clara is someone that is a very talented artist in Rid's Discord community. And she does wonderful work. And it was always a pleasure to talk to. She was in chat earlier. Some people wear their loved ones' ashes. That is true. Yeah. I think a shirt made of your deceased mother's hair is a bit more extreme.
You know what? one of my favorite like fantasy things is like different cultures' way of mourning. Like I love seeing that in fantasy. Like it's one of my favorite like little cultural lore things. Like in Robin Hobb, obviously, they cut their hair.
Yeah.
And the men wear their hair long, so when they cut their hair, it's like a sign of mourning. And I just love that. I think it's such an interesting way. The way that humans mourn their dead says so much about them.
Yeah, that's something that Robin Hobb took a really long time with, exploring that. And I really enjoyed the fact that it wasn't always just straightforward. It's like, oh, someone passed, they're going to cut their hair. It was like, oh, a decision. Like, do I present myself as mourning because I'm now in a position of power and I can't show that I'm mourning, unfortunately? Or would it be weird if I was mourning someone that I wasn't supposed to know, but I knew them because of the secrecy? I mean, there's a lot to play with there.
Yeah, there's a part where like Burek. Oh wait, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
yeah. That part gets me every time.
Apparently, Adrian, who is essentially a historian, if people don't know, Adrian Dillard in the chat is actually an author. She wrote or has written multiple books that are historical fiction, Anne Boleyn expert, and has some of the best parallel theories about Anne Boleyn to Marjorie Tyrell in A Song of Ice and Fire that I think is just excellent. She said people used to wear hair shirts as a reminder of religious piety. Talking's hard. They weren't super comfortable. I have no idea what kind of hair it was. Jimmy has damn good book opinions. What can I say? I agree, Scott. I think I have excellent opinions.
It's like telling your twin they look good today.
Yeah, right? It was itchy and uncomfortable. Think of one of those raw wool sweaters you had to wear as a kid that made you feel... I know exactly what you're talking about. Those were the worst. And Philip says hair shirts were not made of human hair. Sheep and goats. Bah. It's so funny.
I have a 100% wool cardigan, and I'm just going to start calling it my hair shirt.
I like that.
It's my hair shirt.
And Rand has some Two Rivers wool, right?
Yeah.
And he has a wool shirt.
Yeah. It's a hair shirt.
I like what Chris said. The way Soul casts the dead into actual statues in Stormlight is pretty awesome. And that's another ritual among the dead, right?
I didn't know they did that.
Don't the Aiel and Wheel of Time also have a very specific way of dealing with the dead? Or am I wrong?
No, not that I remember. No, I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember. Maybe I'm thinking of Dune. I might be thinking of Dune and the Freemen, because I think the Freemen have a ritual, because there's like a confrontation about how they should handle some of the dead bodies.
No, I don't think it's the Aiel.
Yeah, you might be right. Oh, Adrian, you are too kind. Adrian is one of the people who has helped edit my short story that I've written, and I appreciate her very much. 2 legends on screen right now. 2 legends, says the fastest growing booktuber in the world. Man carrying thing. Good to have you. Also a guest on episode 9. It was episode 9. It was before we had double digits, and I had to adjust the pictures on the thumbnail. This is a great one, Jake. Good idea. Yes. I want to be absorbed into my family boat. So people who have not read Live Ships, essentially would you say your memories? Like your
memories.
Yeah, they're absorbed in. It is very important to quicken a live ship for the successors of the family and of the ship to, for their person that's passing to die on the ship's decks. And bleeding on a live ship is very big deal. It's a very, very big deal. You do not want to shed blood on a live ship's deck, which is pretty interesting. Look at this. Anne Boleyn did not wear a hair shirt, but her predecessor, Queen Catherine of Aragon. Wait, was there really a Catherine of Aragon?
Aragon?
That is badass if that's true. Back to the mud and first law, nice and simple. If there's ever been a tattoo that I've ever thought about getting, it's Back to the Mud. I think it's such a good term, man. I actually think First Law has the best funeral type scenes in the entire series in the North. It's very, very grim, but it's like characters that don't show a lot of emotion externally, showing, it's like whenever, I can remember seeing people in my life that never cry for the first time. And it impacts you. Joe Abercrombie does that with his Northmen in First Law. You know, you see these hardened warriors.
Yeah, that's a series I really need to get to.
Oh
eventually.
Man. Oh,
not
I think,
anytime soon.
Yeah, there's a lot on the plate. And the third book for the final second trilogy is coming out. Since I'm late, Riddhima, have you read Durfee yet? If not, ask Jimmy. I actually pitched Durfee earlier.
Yeah, you did,
and
you did a great job.
Thank you. I was very excited to read Brian's book because if you haven't checked out Brian Lee Durfee's Booktube channel, it's absurd. It's amazing. I love it. It's raw. It's gritty. It's human. He's an individual. I was so shocked by how elegant he wrote. And that's not me putting him down or anything. He's just such a ridiculous guy. And he has some very serious stuff, very heavy stuff in his book. And it's cool to see a deeper side to people, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Rid, you're a writer. Do you feel like people
writer?
Well, you've written this stuff before. Yeah. And do you feel like people would be surprised by the way that you write?
No, because my writing is like very... I really only focus on the emotional side of characters, and I don't world build at all, even though like all my writing has been fantasy. Like, I think that wouldn't surprise people who know me well. They'd be like, yeah, that's pretty on point for
I will say, when I write, I get worried that people will be able to know it's me. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's too much. Like, I wear all my influences on my sleeve kind of thing. But Durfee's so different. Like, because I feel like when I see an author, I understand that they wrote a series. Like, when I look at Stormlight and I'm like, oh my God, this is so like the magic systems. Then I see Brandon Sanderson. I go, yeah. And you hear him talk and stuff. You're like, yeah, he's a guy that likes to be in control. He's a guy that likes to have intricacies. Brandon Sanderson is very much a dungeon master. Like, he very much likes having all the cards. He likes that. And you can tell. With Durfee, it was just totally different. It's just not what I was expecting at all. And that's interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Chase says, First Law is so good. Yeah, the Northmen death rituals and their reserved all the way to honor their dead is so good. It's like what I want out of my funeral, to be honest.
Yeah.
Should be right about the funeral scenes. All right, I'm glad I'm not the only person. That makes me happy. That other people have caught on to that. Jimmy's story is amazing. I don't know about that. It's a story.
It's pretty good. I've read the first chapter, I think. I haven't read the whole thing. It's pretty good.
I'm doing my final edits hopefully this weekend. I got to take some time and do it. Where can we find Jimmy's story? So that'll depend. I'm planning to release it for free. I'm not going to say what I'm planning. There's things I'm planning for it. It wouldn't be for sale or anything, but stuff on the channel that for people who are interested, maybe you can listen to an audio rendition by a very entertaining booktuber who has graciously said that they could narrate my book. His name's Alan.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's
I'm
cool.
excited for this.
I put a lot of time into it, and I don't necessarily think I'm the best writer in the world, but I think I did tell a story. And
you should feel so proud of yourself, because that's awesome. Like, just finishing something and then like putting it out there is so cool. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing.
I appreciate it. And the writing group that we were kind of a part of is a big reason why I was able to push through. And because it is, man, finishing something is so difficult. Like, it just is. It's a skill in itself to wrap stuff up. And I know people give a lot of authors crap for it. Like, a lot of people give Stephen King a lot of crap for his endings, but man, it's hard. It is hard to wrap stuff up. A Wheel of Time fan who doesn't write world building. Interesting.
Yeah. If you ever watch my reviews too, I never talk about world building, hardly ever. I always focus on like character and theme. That's kind of like my favorite thing in any fantasy book. And it's probably like, it's one of those things where I don't notice world building when it's good, but I notice when it's bad. It's like, for me, good world building should just like fade into the background. I shouldn't be, like, if it's really, really interesting or unique, I'll notice it. But like, otherwise, I don't want to be like constantly, I don't want it to be in my face.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. Whenever it comes out naturally in dialogue, I really enjoy it. And there's a way to do it in dialogue that's not natural. And it's something that I think Erickson's phenomenal in sprinkling in his history and world building. And I've now started to notice when authors are not so good at it because of that. Where it's like, if me and Rid are two characters, right? And me and Rid are having a conversation. Me and Rid in the book have been friends for 10 years. And I say, well, Rid, you know that the priest is on his last term as, high priest. Like, I'm relaying information that we both know. I can't stand that shit. It's really started to bother me since I've gotten into Malazan. And actually, even reading Dune, because I thought Dune did a great job with its world building. I was very, again, with its age, was just so impressive. Man Carrying Things says, do either of you have a favorite writing book for advice, a guide, etc.? Rid, do you have one?
I do. What I talk about when I talk about running by Haruki Murakami is a book I read last year, and I just really enjoyed it. I think Haruki Murakami is not like, I've read one of his books, Norwegian Wood, so I'm not like a crazy like Murakami fan, but it was really interesting seeing how like disciplined he is with his writing, and how I'm also like kind of a runner. Not really, like I like to run, but I'm not like crazy about it, or I'm not like super good at it. So like it was interesting to me to see like those two like parts of my life intersect in a book, and seeing him talk about writing and just like the little tips, they're not tips, but just like lessons he gives were really interesting to me. I think even if you're not a runner, I think that's an interesting book to read, because he does talk about writing in a very interesting way. And Murakami, like, do you know Haruki Murakami, right?
I know of, but I haven't read anything.
Yeah, like everyone knows him because he's such a huge author. So like I think it's really valuable to see his take on the craft.
Yeah. I love hearing people's take on, like, I live for those author like sit downs with their editors and such. Like, I love the Robin Hobb one, obviously. My answer is very cliche. I really like On Writing by Stephen King. I love listening to Stephen King talk about his idea process. One of my favorite things that Stephen King's ever said is people ask him if he keeps a ideas notebook, and he said an ideas notebook is something along the lines of like a really good way of keeping around bad ideas, because he believes that if you have the idea that like that you should write about is the one that never leaves you. Like, you're obsessed with it. And I know exactly what he means, because I've come up with plenty of story ideas, but I have a story in my head I've been wanting to tell for like the last few years. Yeah. And like, that's the one I need to write. You know what I mean?
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I really like that. Like, that tidbit of advice. I don't know. It was something that really compelled me when I heard it, and it spoke to me. And I thought his On Writing book was just phenomenal. Yeah, I really did. I would like to read more books about writing, as weird as that sounds. Not even just for myself, but I just like being more in tune with the process. I really do, especially someone who looks at things with somewhat of a critical eye. I would say I'm much more of an enjoyment reader. But
another book I would recommend is How to Read Literature Like a Professor. Even though it's like about reading, obviously, but I think it gives you a lot of, it kind of works both ways, where it gives you the tools to like think more deeply about books and literature, and by the same token it like makes you think about your writing in a more interesting way.
Yeah, and it's two sides of a different token, right? Like I think about wrestling, right? Like, so I was a wrestling fan before I was a wrestler, and when I became a wrestler, I started watching wrestling different. When I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I would keep in tune with the product, because that's where I wanted to be on television. And it's a little bit of that way with writing, trying to write my own stuff now. I feel like I look at things different, and I appreciate things a little bit more. And as I was reading through Realm of the Elderlings and Dark Tower at the same time as I was writing my short story, it was interesting, because Stephen King and Robin Hobb have very different approaches, but you could tell that they were doing the same things, right? Like, you're like, okay, they are now building a relationship here. And it's cool to see the contrast between how two people do that, two authors.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I love Brandon Sanderson's lectures too. They're really great.
Yeah, they're awesome. It's funny because like Brandon Sanderson, I think there are a lot of people who would say they don't mesh with his writing, but I think everyone appreciates those lectures. They're just for free. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Apparently, Gardner is a book that we should read. Stephen King is On Writing. Dune is one of the best books. I agree, Nick. I literally feel that way, which is weird to say because I waited so long to read it. We need Erickson here now for writing advice to just top this episode off. That would be awesome. That would be incredible.
I'd actually be really interested to hear Erickson's writing process.
Oh, your inspection of the Felsen story arc and Dead House Gates made me like, you gave me a new appreciation for Erikson and the depth of his writing. I think that he is in a lot of ways. How do I say this without sounding really hyperbolic? I don't know how an elegant way to say, so I'm just going to say this. I feel like in a lot of ways, Steven Erikson was attempting to be Tolkien of a new generation, and I don't mean that. I don't know how I mean this.
He's just ambitious.
Yeah, he's ambitious. That's actually exactly what I'm saying. He was like, okay, we've seen how fantasy's told from this. Now I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to move it over here and show you that we can do a whole different thing with this realm, right? And we can focus on different things. We can do characters in a different way. And I'm not saying he succeeds in every aspect of that. That's subjective, right, to the reader, whether they enjoy one way or the other. That's not necessarily up for debate, I don't think. But I respect the ambition. And I'm glad that you said that, because that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite thing about Malazan, is that it's something different. And I like that. I can really respect that.
Yeah. I felt that as soon as I got into Dead House Gates. I said, okay, like, I really enjoyed Gardens of the Moon, but Dead House Gates, I thought it was a little bit more cohesive. Like, I felt like I understood a little bit more in the flow. It was a little more natural, and I was just so impressed.
I titled my review of it Dead House Gates is peak fantasy. And I feel like I kind of pulled the trigger a little early with the with the clickbait title, but at the same time, like, I really do think it is like peak fantasy. Like, it's a peak of fantasy. It might not be the peak, but it is definitely a peak.
I like that a lot. AP says Erikson has a number of essays on his website that go through his writing technique. I'm going to read those.
Yeah, on his Facebook, right?
I would love that. I should dig those up, AP. I would love to hear it take on the craft. I can't watch them anymore because I just imagine how Atman Carey thing will dub them into his next video. The Brandon Sanderson lectures. King is so good at building towns and characters. Yeah. One thing King's not afraid to do is say, oh, we're starting a chapter. We're in Maine, and I'm going to go through every detail of this small town drama. You're going to know everyone's business at the supermarket. And then I'm going to put everyone in this town through hell. He does it in Salem's Lot to a T. I know you're not a huge King fan, but I
do like his writing. It's like this weird thing where I'm not super familiar with his books, so I'm not like the most well-read Stephen King person. Like, I read it, and there's something very like captivating about his writing. Yeah. But at the same time, I think like when I zone out from it, or like zoom out from it, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's not for you. Like you're just like, this is not for me. This isn't what I like. But you can appreciate his writing still, which is really cool. I remember like the first time I was very young when I read King. I just thought he was so different from anyone I read, and it was like really jarring. And even when I read Dark Tower, there were things about Dark Tower that, first off, it's just the most ridiculous fantasy story ever. But there were still things I found jarring, and that I ended up appreciating. But his little town building, I love that.
That's probably his best quality as a writer. Something I really like about him. Actually,
his scene setting is incredible. He just he like does world building in real towns. It's just so weird.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, Jim Butcher is not human. He just keeps. I've heard Jim Butcher's improvement in every aspect as a writer has improved so much. Not just through Dresden, but his Codex Alera with like the Pokemon gimmick.
Yeah.
I
actually really want to read that series. Yeah. I don't want to read Dresden. I'm over Dresden, but I do want to read Codex Alera.
Yeah, I think I'm going to eventually work my way through all of his stuff, and I think it'll be fun to watch him grow as an author. Like, one of my favorite things to do is to start at the beginning of an author's journey. That's one thing that was really cool about Dark Tower. It's like you have Gunslinger, you have 17-year-old or 19-year-old, I can't remember, Stephen King that came out of a writing workshop, and he wrote this book.
Wow.
And then he wrote the final one 30-some years, or maybe even 40. No, wow. I think it was 30 years later. And the improvements that he makes, astounding. I mean, it's encouraging, right? Because I know you're like me. Like, you probably go back and read your stuff, and you're just like, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to open up an old document, right? And the fact that we get to kind of do that inspection of King and other people like Jim Butcher and everyone else. I think about that a lot with R.F. Kuang, because I think she did something pretty compelling with Poppy War. And I think that she's going to continue to write, and it's going to be fun to watch her grow. Like, I'm really excited that we have a lot of authors that we're getting in at the ground floor with. Fonda Lee, Evan Winters is another one that I'm really excited to watch grow. I feel like I've kind of watched Joe Abercrombie grow, even though I didn't read the books when they came out. But the level up that he made between the first trilogy and the second trilogy is, like, I think, outstanding. And then John Gwen's another one, of course. And then
there's Robin Hobb, who's just been a genius the whole time.
Just Robin Hobb just being the goat.
Yeah.
Just walking around being the goat. She can't help it. I'm reading The Stand right now, Jimmy, and I totally agree. I really, really enjoyed it. Jim's best writing skill isn't a specific thing. It's his ability to continually improve at all aspects. I mean, that's a huge endorsement. Encouraged by his teacher to outline what would become storefront, instead outlined a 20-novel series due to some Moss. That's funny. Alan is being called out for maybe narrating a possible short story I wrote. Let's see. I liked Codex Alera. I felt this is an amazing character. I've heard a lot of good things about Codex Alera. I feel like it's like an undervalued series because everyone talks about Dresden so much that a lot of his other stuff. Because, all right, Pokemon and StarCraft 2 had a child. Fair enough.
I don't know anything about StarCraft, but I've definitely heard the Pokemon thing. It's interesting.
Yeah,
because Pokemon is cool. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Pokemon. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I actually
who doesn't like Pokemon?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I actually honestly considered buying like the remake they just did. That's like a ripoff. I like very much considered it, but I resisted. The Stand's management loves it so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed The Stand, especially reading it during COVID. Was interesting. Think of the Croach and Alien Insectoid Queens. The Lost Legion was this conceit about the settlers. Very cool.
What is this?
This is Codex Alera.
I was like, what are we talking about here?
Anytime Roman gets brought up, I assume Alan's going to jump on it because Alan is like a Rome history buff and teaches Latin and all these crazy things. Is there a series out there that you have not got to start that you're really excited for?
I was just looking at my bookshelf because I was thinking about just books that I want to read.
Yo, this podcast always gets me fired up to read.
I know. I was gonna say I feel like I really want to. I just want to like leave right now and get my Kindle. I really want to read Chronicles of Amber. I have the omnibus edition.
Oh yeah, I think Chris Bookish Cauldron, or maybe it was Andy Smith. Somebody told me about that. Can you recap what that is? No one
on Booktube has read it, but it's like it has a cult following, and it's apparently really good. So I kind of want to be the first person to read it, so I can be like, yeah, everyone. I don't know if it ends up being good, I can like make everyone else read it.
And if not, you just leave it in purgatory.
Yeah, but also the Gormenghast novels I want to read.
Brighton Bookish says Chronicles of Amber is awesome. So what is it about? Like
it's apparently like a portal fantasy, or not portal, but it's like one of those things where like it's like the main character gets transported to this fictional world and stuff happens, like fantasy stuff happens. I started it and it's written in first person, which is super interesting.
And it's 10 books, it looks like.
Yeah. I think I have the 9-book omnibus.
All right, let's see.
And another book I'm really, really excited about that I've been wanting to read for like a year now is Perdido Street Station by China Miéville. I'm so good at that. But it's apparently like it's part of this genre or subgenre called New Weird, and I don't know. I've just heard really interesting things about like the. Oh, yeah. See, like the people who like Amber, like really, really like it, which makes me think that it's probably like a hidden gem, which is why I want to read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Perdido Street Station, I don't know what it is about, but I've heard a lot of interesting things about it, and I really want to read it. Like it's supposed to be like this, I don't know, it's supposed to be like really weird and like kind of.
Dude, Matt's got you. He's read all of this. So it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah, so that's one. Those two are probably like books I really want to read. Hopefully this year, maybe.
AP is saying Amber is a fantasy classic.
Yeah. See, like, not a lot of people have read it though.
Yeah, I've only heard about. I think it was either Andy or Chris mentioned it to me. Maybe that they wanted to read it, or
Mhm.
I don't think they had at that point. Pranav, what's up, man? It's good to see you. So I actually kind of want to read the synopsis because it sounds a little interesting. The Amber stories take place in two contrasting true worlds, Amber and Chaos, and in shadow worlds, shadows that lie between the two. These shadows, including our Earth, are parallel worlds that existed and were created between the tension of opposing magical forces of Amber and Chaos. The courts of Chaos are situated at the very edge of an abyss. Members of the royal family of Amber, after walking a pattern that is central to Amber, can travel freely through the shadows. While traveling or shifting between shadows, one can alter reality or create a new reality by choosing
Jimmy,
which
Jimmy, I
elements.
gotta stop you. I gotta leave because I gotta start Amber like right now. That sounds so interesting. Like it sounds so cool.
Yeah, when I saw, and apparently there's like an opposing family, when I saw that you could create alter realities and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, that
What's all
just sounds
this then?
fresh.
I
When
know
was
it
this
sounds really
published?
cool. It's I think it's like it's old.
70s to the so it first book was 1970. The last book was published in 1991. That sounds like pretty far out there for a 70s series.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, like it has a cult following, and
What?
it's
Like,
just like, yeah. Maybe no, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna read that next. No, I'm not gonna say that. But I really want to read it one of these days.
why is Portal Fantasy so often looked down upon? I feel like it is separate from other fans, and I don't get it. I mean, I for some reason also did that, and then I've read like 3 Portal Fantasies now, between Dark Tower, The War of the Flowers, and Ninth House, and I liked all 3.
I like Portal Fantasy. I feel like it's like my favorite Portal Fantasy is probably Coraline, and I feel like it's such a great it's such a great device. I didn't know people look down on it, and I feel like that's weird. Like,
You know
why
what
would
I was
you?
thinking? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm just gonna.
When we talk about like story ideas and stuff, I was thinking about what if you did a Portal Fantasy for someone that was a prisoner, like in jail, and at night when it's bunk time, they like go to a fantasy world and they're living a totally different life. You know what I mean? And you're getting like their legal troubles, like of maybe a parole hearing,
Yeah.
and then also living their life. Because I loved Oz, like it's one of my favorite shows. But I also really enjoy fantasy, and I'm like, that's a way you could combine the two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an
I was
idea.
like, okay, when you said that, I got like a vision of like a TV show opening with like sword clangs, and like the audio is like sword clangs and horses, but like the setting is like a court, like a really sterile courtroom.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just like seeing like that would be such an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, that actually would be really good. That'd be a great opening scene. Or even if the screen was black, right? And you're hearing all these sounds, and when the picture shows up, it's a guy sitting down at the defendant table.
Like wearing like a really like just like the most boring black suit you've ever seen in your
Or
life.
you just hear like, please rise. You know, like
Yeah.
oh man, that'd be cool. We should definitely make a TV show.
Yeah, let's do it. You got your Booktube money. Come
Yeah,
on.
I got my Canon M50 over here. I can do theater. Come on now. Perdido Street Station is about as strange as it gets. I tried the first Amber book and it wasn't working for me, but I give it another shot. Yes, Scott has read so many things. And the thing is, Scott, the thing I like about you is I know that you will go back to things that didn't work with you the first time. And I appreciate that because I'm always so apprehensive to do that. And it's something that I hope as I get further down, I can give other things a try. Actually, you know what a book read that you love that I DNF'd, but not because I thought it was terrible, was The Goblin Emperor.
Oh.
But I didn't DNF because I thought it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't expect it to be this like slice of life, like political drama. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Really? No, yeah. No, The Goblin Emperor, if you're going to go into it, it's definitely not fantasy, like epic fantasy. It's very much like, like you said, it's slice of life kind of. And it's about, I love it. I love how offbeat it is. It's a breath of fresh air. And actually I read The Witness for the Dead, which is kind of like the companion novel to that book. And it's, again, I loved it so much. It was like very slice of life, followed this one character, first person. And it was a nice like change of pace from like epic fantasy. That's another book I need to make a video about soon because I want to talk about it.
Well, I remember I was reading it and I was like, this is different. But it just wasn't what I was like specifically like, I want a 400-page book that's fast paced and like something to cleanse my, because I was reading Stormlight and I was like, I just want something like quick, easy. And I remember I opened it up having no idea, you know, Goblin Emperor, I'm thinking it's going to be wacky. And it is a little wacky, right? Like it doesn't take itself too serious, which I liked. But that's like a book, you know, I'd like to go back and re-experience with a good mindset going into it.
Yeah. It's not a book I would recommend to everyone. Yeah. I think I really like it because I like slow-paced, like kind of boring books. Like sometimes I read books and I'm like, this is so boring, but I love it. But
I'm with you. Yeah. I tell people, like they'll be like, you know, for instance, there's people that will tell me, you know, Assassin's Apprentice is the most boring book ever. And I'm like, yeah, probably. Yeah. I love it. I don't care. Yeah. You know, Daniel Abraham book 1's slow as molasses. And I'm like, I'm in. I love it. Brighton Bookish is selling you more on the Amber Chronicles. Tons of political intrigue, which I know is up your alley.
Someone, I think Benjamin said that Magicians is such a compelling portal fantasy, and I have to agree. I love the Magicians trilogy. It's definitely not. It's very flawed, and I think I like the TV show more than the books, especially like the second and third season. But I love the Magicians trilogy because it's like it's an interesting series because it's very meta. It's obviously like making a commentary on the genre, which can be like a very difficult thing to do because I think you can it can come off like insincere. But I think Lev Grossman does a good job of like balancing like his adoration for fantasy and like his homages to fantasy as a genre, but also like adding interesting like actual original stuff, like, and adding his own twist on those things, and then just taking it in a very like modern way. None of that made sense, but
no, that makes total sense. I've been really interested in Magicians because I've had it recommended to me a bunch, and it sounds like something I would enjoy. And hearing that being an homage, but also bringing something new to the table, that sounds interesting to me. That's one of the big things that I really liked that I'm hearing about Sun Eater by Christopher Rocchio is people say it's like an homage to Dune, but really it's almost a disagreement to Dune. Like he disagrees with Frank Herbert, which, you know, it's funny. I got confused on a portion of Dune, and I went to the Tor reread thing because they do awesome breakdowns. And Christopher Rocchio was in the comments like 7 years ago.
That's so cool.
And I was like, dude, this is the dude that wrote Sun Eater. And everyone says it's his conversation with Frank Herbert. Like, that's why he wrote it. I love when people do homages to people. Salem's Lot was Stephen King talking to Bram Stoker about, you know, vampires. I mean, that's really what it was. So the fact that the Magicians is also something like that,
it's very self-aware too. It's like definitely like it's self-aware of the fact that it's an homage. And I will say the characters are just terrible. They're complete assholes. But I love like when characters are just awful people. That to me is really interesting. This is not a fantasy book, actually. It's a literary fiction book that I think if you like characters who are very like weird and just like bad people, you should read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. It's one of my favorite books that I read last year, and I don't really get to talk about it because it's not fantasy. But yeah, if you're in the mood for like literary fiction and you want to read like something weird, I would recommend that.
I'm always down with weird, awkward characters that are generally bad people. I think Pust from Malazan would probably fall into that category.
He's so weird.
Alan's probably punching the air right now. He absolutely hates Pust. But I found him to be intriguing at the very least. Scott says I'm semi-quick to DNF, so I try things just in case it was a mood thing for me. I think that's fair. I think that's a good approach to it. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much for the 10th spot. Thank you so much. Rec Janet Wart's Wars of Light and Shadow. Really want to see a booktuber get into this series. It's truly a masterpiece, and she's finishing the final novel now. I actually really want to get to Jenny Wart's. I've heard magnificent things. Along with her, I've also wanted to read Raymond Feist. I haven't read any Feist at all, and people seem to
so many authors.
There is. I go to my used bookstore, and it's a lot of like 80s stuff. Like it's a lot of the pulpy covers and stuff. And I just sit there.
I love that.
oh, they got a wall of Kate Elliott, and I'm just like, oh, I want to read it so bad. Like, I actually really want to read Kate Elliott. That's one that I've had recommended to me a ton as well. Benjamin says, Magicians asks the question of what if we get to live in the fantasy world we so wish we were real growing up.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It's
That's
definitely
really cool.
like, yeah, and it's like this idea that, you know, like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, if only I could get to live in like Hogwarts, I would be happy. And then you grow up and you realize that like magic doesn't solve your problems. You're still depressed, you know, like it's very interesting.
Well, you know, I think that's a pretty good commentary on a lot of things. I mean, some people will say money, but you know, whenever I was you know, growing as a young adult, right, going into my 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old phase, where none of us know what we're doing, by the way. None of us do.
Yeah, no one.
You know, I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil, and I always just said, you know, I'd have really bad nights, and I would say, as long as I can make it in wrestling, like, I'll be okay. Like, that's all I got to do. And then I started making it, right? I started getting bigger profile matches. I started going different places, wrestling different areas, being in front of crowds of 5,000 to 10,000 people. I started getting compliments from people I looked up to my whole life, and I always thought that would be the cure. When in reality, I had a lot of fundamental character flaws that I needed to address. So I think that that's a pretty relatable thing to say that magic doesn't make it all better. Yeah. In my case, magic would have been being the, you know, one of the best at my craft. That's what I always thought. And you know, you see people lose themselves in work or money, but at a deeper level, it doesn't solve everything.
No. Yeah. I read the series, like, I guess that is, like when I was in high school, I was so, I was just like depressed, like straight up. I was just depressed. And I read the series when at a good time, I think, because I don't know, it just helped me process those things. And it was so, like poignant for me because it was written by a fantasy fan, and I too was a fantasy fan, and I felt like it was speaking directly to me as like, you know, just like a kid growing up and realizing that like the real world kind of sucks and there's no magic and like all of these things. It was a very it has a soft spot in my heart because of that.
Yeah, I feel that way about First Law in a lot of ways. First Law made me, because I consider myself to be pretty nihilistic, and I felt like First Law gave an optimistic view of that feeling, of that nothing matters. I know that sounds really weird, but
no, yeah, I get it. Like, if nothing matters, then you can kind of choose what matters. I think that's really
right.
Free.
The arbitrary
really freeing. Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. There's a lot of Sun Eater praise in the chat. Sun Eater rules. Just finished. I've heard book 2 is insanely complicated, but like in a great way. Like I've heard it just mind-boggling. And I hear
Paul from my Discord recommended it. And I was starting the audiobook, but I didn't actually start it. So I really want to read Sun Eater.
Yeah, me too. I have all 3 books.
Did I say eat? Read Sun Eater.
Yeah, well, you can eat it too. I mean, whatever. Sun Eater absolutely rules, and everyone should read it immediately. Demon of Mike is still my book of the year. Wow, and you're reading through Hobb, so that's high praise. Sun Eater is amazing, and people really, really enjoy it. Words Prose is challenging in my opinion, but so rewarding and smart. I'm a big fan of those types of books. Sun Eater has deliberate parallels with Dune the same way Eye of the World does with Fellowship, and then I believe he diverts from that. Is what you're saying, Jake. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, Demon Wise is my favorite books of all time. Holy cow. People are like really hyping this up. This is pretty much my number 1 series to read in 2022, but I also have it on I have a Patreon thing where people can recommend, and then I randomly select one a month, and it's on there, and I'm kind of rooting for it. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. My number 1 series that I want to read is just like fantasy. Like the entire genre of fantasy is just there's so many books I want to read.
There's so many books I want you to read.
There's so many books I want to reread, and it's like I can never justify rereading a book because I'm always like, there's so many books that I haven't read, but also like I want to reread Farseer, I want to reread Wheel of Time, but I want to read all these new books. It's so hard.
It really is. I mean, I'm rereading A Song of Ice and Fire in October. I'm doing a book a month with Leanna from Leanna's Library and Alex Neves. And I I won't lie to you. I'm pretty excited. Like, I'm like, okay, I feel like there's a purpose. Like, there's other people doing it. It's not just me, like, stimulating my fandom or my biases, right? And I'm excited to look at it through a different lens because I've read a lot of books since I've last read A Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm curious to see where it lands with me. I think it's going to be. I'm actually a little scared. I'm like, what if I don't love it as much as I'm going to? I know I am, but,
No,
but it's always good.
You'll find like new things to love about it, I think.
Yes, and I have every time I've reread it.
Yeah.
How many times have you read Wheel of Time, by the way?
So
80?
last year, no. So last year I reread like the last half of the series. So I think I've read it like about 3.5, 4 times, like all of it.
That's so impressive.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think it is. I've definitely reread Eye of the World the most. But yeah.
I could read Eye of the World again and again. I know some people don't like Eye of the World.
It's such a good book.
I actually like Eye of the World a lot.
And it's so cozy. It's like I just love Eye of the World.
Sarah's off to cook dinner. Thank you for a great chat as always. Sarah, it's always a pleasure.
Bye, Sarah.
And I'll see you on your podcast on the 30th. I'll be doing a podcast with Sarah about Fire and Blood and House of the Dragon.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes, very exciting. Sarah is wonderful. She's one of the few people in the Song of Ice and Fire community that has original theories. A lot of us regurgitate, which is fine. I mean, it's been 10 years. We got to start coming up with new stuff, right? But she's always an original thinker and very smart. And
good job, Sarah.
Yeah,
love
Sarah's
to see
awesome. She's great. Who here hasn't wished for a time-stopping ability so we can have a parallel life just of reading? We can do everything else we need to.
I would love nothing more than to just like quit my job, quit school, just stay at home and read all day.
Yeah. I mean, there's just something about, you know what though? I do enjoy like whenever I finished out my day. Like, all right, so I love Thursdays. I'm going to tell everyone why I love Thursdays. Okay. So Thursdays, specifically when I have a Chatting with Nuts episode the next day, is exciting as hell because I work, okay, and then I lift weights, and then I go to jiu-jitsu, and I am so dead by Thursday that I just come home and I just open up a book. Like, it's like I earned like just a 3-hour bender, open my book and enjoy it. And to know, like, I was so excited for today because it's so fun doing these. Like, this is my everything. Like, I truly adore this. And just knowing that, like, I kind of earned it. So I feel like if I did quit everything and just read, that sometimes it wouldn't feel as special. You know what I mean? With that said, who wants to work?
Yeah.
Right?
Who wants to work?
Who wants to work?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel, and I'm just curious, we've never really talked about this before, but do you ever feel that you're not able to read just to read because you have a Booktube channel?
Yeah, I feel that more recently, where I feel like a pressure to keep reading certain series and like not like, I guess like for like Amber, like I didn't read it for the longest time because I was like, oh, I have to read all these like other Booktube books. Yeah. Like, Stormlight, not Malazan, but like just like, I don't know. Yeah. Yes is the answer. Yeah.
So do you feel like your TBR changes because of Booktube and what you feel like your viewers want to see, or do you still you do?
Yeah, because I feel like but also I'm not like I don't look at my analytics, so I feel like it's like why am I thinking about it in terms of that, because I really don't look at my analytics, and I'm not like a person who your vibes for sure. Like if a video doesn't do well, I'm not like sad about it. I'm just like, oh, whatever. So maybe I should start like just reading what I want again. I feel like that'll be fun because why do I do that? Well,
I was just curious because I had a conversation with another booktuber similar to this in the past like 2 weeks, and it is actually not something that I've done. Okay. I don't know why, but I've never done that. Now the one exception now is that I do the random Patreon once a month, which I'll be honest with you, I would have never read Piranesi this soon. I would have read Piranesi in 10 years, right? So I kind of like that aspect of it. Especially because I get to talk to my patrons in the Discord. Like I like, they're excited that I'm reading it and yada, yada, yada. But that's like something I haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it was not a conscious decision on my end. But what I will say is, one thing I've noticed through Memories of Ice, because I'm going to do a spoiler review for it, right? Is I had to like kind of chill. Like you saw my notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to chill a little bit and just be like, let's experience the book
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then talk about it. So I've tried to dial it back a little bit as far as note taking.
Yeah.
Someone said, read what you got, what you love, guys. Yeah, I mean, I think even most books you read, you do end up loving, right? Like,
yeah, I've said that because because I've been reading for so long. I don't read books that I know I'm not gonna like.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like. There's a book specifically that I read recently that I didn't think I would like. And I'm going to talk about it, so I don't want to spoil it I feel like I only have so many interesting thoughts, so I have to save it for my video. But like, I knew I kind of wasn't going to like it, and I didn't like it. So like, I know my taste very well, so I do enjoy most, like 98% of the books I read.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, it's not like a bad thing that I'm reading books because of Booktube. It's just like because like there's all these books I want to read anyways, and so it's just like, oh, certain books have priority. It's not like a bad thing necessarily to me.
No, and there's the hype train.
Yeah, and like, it's just fun to like talk to people about books. So like,
yeah, I don't think there's anything, but yeah, like to be clear, like I don't think there's anything wrong with jumping on a hype train or something. Like honestly, reading Stormlight before 4 came out was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I had so much fun doing
the FOMO. I had so much FOMO that month. I still have FOMO. I'm like, I want to talk about Stormlight so bad.
Yeah, you got to get caught up. You got to get caught up, Ed.
I know.
It's not like you don't have a million books to read or anything, right?
I know.
I like Benjamin's question. When you're reading, are you thinking about how you'll discuss it on camera? Yes, to a certain extent. I do feel like with the spoiler, like, because I said from book 3 on Malazan, I'm going to do all spoilers, right? Because I feel like if you're with me at that point, you're there for spoilers. I feel like I've been a spoiler-free guy for most of my my Booktube career. So it's a different way of thinking about things. And I don't want to cheapen out the experience if someone else connected with something. But at the end of the day, what I've come to a conclusion is if something resonates with me, I want to ask myself why, and then relay that to the viewer. And things might not resonate with me as they do with other people. For instance, Rid's video on Feliston, I told her before the call, made me look at the scenes in a totally different manner. And I didn't get everything that she got out of those scenes. And it just really, and that's one of the beautiful things about this, right? Is like we get to see things through other people's lenses. But that's something that my review doesn't really dive into too much. And I'm sad about that. But at the same time, it just didn't happen because I just didn't catch all of those little details, right? So that's kind of how I've started going about it. What about you, Rid?
I think I try to think of like my angle on the book. Like I try to think of like, how am I going to approach this book? But otherwise I kind of just read it. I let the author lead me to what they are trying to do. I really do. Like I believe in like giving an author the chance to set my expectations, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people will go into a book and want it to be something, and then they'll be disappointed that it's not that thing. And I'm like, well, that's not very fair to that book, because I think an author should have a chance to tell me what they're trying to do in that book, especially like in a prologue or like a chapter 1. I'm really like paying attention to like what tone is this author setting, what things are they introducing or teasing that are probably going to come into play later. And yeah, like I try not to go into a book with a lot of expectations.
Yeah, and I can relate to that.
Yeah. So yeah, in regards to like my review style, I'll kind of like go into it with a couple thoughts, and then I'll try to see like, where is the author coming at this? Like, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to make a commentary on something? And like, how well are they making that commentary? And what are they actually saying? Do I agree with what they're saying? Like, for example, Senlin Ascends, I wasn't expecting it to be like, I wasn't expecting it to be a sort of commentary on like capitalism and like industrial, like I don't know. I think it's a commentary on like the Industrial Revolution in some ways, and like I wasn't expecting that. So like and I think that Bancroft does a really good job of like exploring those ideas. So like when I'm reading the book, I'm really just kind of paying attention to like themes and like stuff that the author is doing like kind of underneath the surface of the book. If that makes sense.
I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
But that's just like how I read a book. Like I'm not really thinking of it in terms of like how I'm going to review it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I think that's probably why I find you to be so comprehensive, because you're looking at this in a totally different way. I've always been, and AP has a really great video about how we review books. I encourage everyone here to watch it. I thought it was amazing. And he was talking about whether you're going to give your personal feelings about it, or if you're going to look at it from like a narrative or theme perspective. And both are valid. It's just that which one do you prefer? I try to do a little bit of both. But I don't think that Booktube has ever hindered my enjoyment of a book. And that's kind of what Jake said. If doing Booktube lessened my enjoyment of reading anyway, I would quit Booktube. And I think that's how now that doesn't mean to say that sometimes I think about a review and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a hard one. Like this is a hard one to relay what I'm thinking. But I find that as a challenge, not a negative, depending on my mood. And at the end of the day, I don't have to review anything I don't want to. Right. So like I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
Be involved in Booktube and Discord has given me way more tools to and that is why I don't DNF really anything, because I vet my stuff.
Yeah.
And I trust the people. I trust people who can give me recommendations, right? And I really like what you said, Rid, about letting the author have an opportunity to tell what the story they're trying to tell and how they're trying to tell it. And that's like one thing about Catherine Addison's Goblin Emperor. It's like I DNF'd it. I did not rate that book. I didn't review it because I said, okay, I went into this with preconceived notions that were incorrect, and that's my fault. And I could tell that book was beautifully written as well. So I was like, I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to Goodreads 2-star it or anything. You know, I'm going to come back whenever I'm ready.
There was a book a while ago, not The Blade itself. Oh, it was one of the turncoats, gray coats.
Yeah, gray coats.
Yeah. So I read the first book. I bought it because a lot of people were talking about it, and I read it the first couple chapters, and I was like, no, this is not for me. And I just knew that I was gonna hate the book if I kept reading it, and I was like, yeah, it and you know, it's maybe I don't think it was a bad book, and it's the same thing. Like it was just not for me. So yeah.
And sometimes, believe it or not, folks, it's okay to admit that. It's okay for something not to be your jam. I am so okay with people hating things I love. That's one thing the book community's taught me quite well. You got to get used to people hating the things you love.
Yeah, I know that as a Wheel of Time fan. Right?
Yeah, and you know, if you're a huge person into one of the bigger series, yeah, you got to get used to it. It is what it is. You know,
because I think there's like a certain amount of people who like hate that thing just because it's popular. And then there's like there's like actual valid criticisms of it. And you just get used to like being like, yeah. Yeah,
you are very upfront with your, like, you accept the flaws in Wheel of Time. And I really appreciate that about you, because it makes you less dogmatic, even though you admit you have a bias. But you're still extraordinarily reasonable when people come to you with a con or a negative, and you're like, yep, still love it, but sure.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you, but I'm still gonna love it. I'm still gonna watch the shit out of the TV show.
Oh yeah.
Still gonna tweet Egwene pictures all day.
I know. I'm so annoying on Twitter. I just want people to know that like Twitter is the only place where I really talk about Wheel of Time. Like I do have a personality outside of Wheel of Time. It's just like Twitter is the one place where I just put all of it into. And yeah, that's just my place for my Wheel of Time thoughts. I do have a life, I promise.
No, I enjoy it. And it's pretty awesome that you're going to see, like, you know, possibly your favorite series ever be on screen. I think it's cool to watch other people be happy about stuff, you know. And I was excited about the Mistborn Fortnite skin. I don't even like Fortnite or Mistborn.
That was so cool.
It's cool as hell. Yeah. I think we caught Clara playing Fortnite that one day. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's nothing wrong with saying a book isn't for you. I don't think Booktube has hindered my enjoyment of books in any way. I actually think it's increased my enjoyment because I've listened to people like you, Rid, or like Dr. Philip Chase, and other people, and just the way that they perceive books. It's changed the way I do. You know, I still like books because of the reason I like them, but I like knowing what other people get out of stuff. And even things that I don't like. And a really good example of this is I hate Well of Ascension and Mistborn. It's like one of my least favorite books of all time. Alan from the Library of Alexandria did a review for Well of Ascension that was so good. I said, maybe I got it wrong. Like, he pointed out so many things that I didn't get out of that book that he got out of it that I said, you know what, maybe I should give it another shot someday. And even if I don't, I now can see why people like that book. And I'm like, that's cool. You know,
maybe I should watch that because I've been stuck on Well of Ascension. That's the reason I haven't read Stormlight.
Oh, it's awful.
I need to finish Mistborn so I can get all the Cosmere things, and then I can read Stormlight. So I'm like, but I'm on Well of Ascension, and I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't want to.
The ending is amazing. I don't like that book at all. It's literally probably my second least favorite book I've ever read.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know some people are going to hate that, but it's just the way it is. But I appreciate how much Alan enjoyed it and the things that he was able to pull out about the book. I thought was awesome. If I could say anything,
I really liked The Final Empire.
The Final Empire is a good book.
Yeah,
it'd be a great movie.
Yeah.
Alan says, thank you, Jimmy, and I'm obsessed with revolution. Yeah, it is a revolution politics, and you're right. It's one of the best sieges written in fantasy. Sanderson did an amazing job with the siege. He really did. Let's see. Where John Gwynne and Sebastian de Castell are the two authors that disappointed me the most. Finished Traitor's Blade and Malice back to back. Gave both 2 out of 5. Oh my God, those two just. I mean, that's fair. I've seen people put down John Gwynne after Malice. In his defense, I'm a John Gwynne defender, of course.
Yeah.
Malice is by far and away his worst book, and I think that he really hits a stride in Valor. I tell people if they read Valor and don't like him, then they're good. Like, you can cash out. You can cash out and go home. Yeah,
I'm so sorry about that time that my Discord was supposed to read Malice and no one read it.
Dude, there was like 2 people. I can't remember who they were, but and they were going back and forth and they enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
I know, but I just didn't read it. I just didn't read my own Discord read along book.
So on Rid's Discord, they do like a monthly read along book, and Malice won the vote. And then like 2 out of 20 people read it. And meanwhile, I'm like, yes, Malice won. Everyone's going to read it. I can talk to him about it. Like, Rid's going to read it, and she's going to see why I like John Gwynne so much. And Rid's just like, nah.
Yeah.
She's like,
I think that, in my defense, I think that was like also the month of like finals or something. So I
think you were reading Memories of Ice.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah. Malazan kind of takes over when I'm reading Malazan, it kind of has to be the only thing I'm reading.
I mean, that's fair. Things. If I could say anything about Memories of Ice, is that there's a whole hell of a lot going on, and it's the first time I have felt confused in Malazan. Mm-hmm. Memories of Ice is the first time I have felt overwhelmed, and I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way, but like, I'm gonna take 3 or 4 weeks before I read book 4 because, my God, there's so much going on. I feel like I could read Memories of Ice again as soon as I finish it, and I'd still miss stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
It's so dense.
It's so dense, but it's good. There's a lot of good stuff. Like,
it's also like very. I have to go to the bathroom again. Hold on.
Go for it. Go for it. Chat's rolling. I can get caught up here. If someone doesn't like books, I like because they are flawed in their ability to absorb the material. And I will defend him with you, Jimmy. Yeah. I'm a 5-star strumpet John Gwynne. Channel my inner Alan. We are declaring holy war against John Gwynne haters. No, I'm just kidding. That's Alan's thing. I like Zane though, so can't completely agree with you, Alan, and that's awesome. He said, Alan said that's okay. Let's see. That sounds good. I will commit to Valor, but not anytime soon. Yeah, that's fair. And the good thing about those is that they do read very fast. So, Memories of Ice has one of the most traditional structures in Malazan Book of the Fallen. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I'm only in part 3 AP, and I think that Memories of Ice is my favorite Malazan book so far already, even without the ending. Pranav, come on, man. I'm not optimistic for Malice. I'm hoping to like him. As long as you go in, here's the thing I always say about John Gwynne is he is familiar with his tropes, but they feel fresh. That was my experience. Familiar, but fresh. And I love his characters. Absolutely love them. I can understand if someone, and also, by the way, people who have read Shadow of the Gods for their first Gwyn book, I think that Faithful and the Fallen is totally different. Like, I think Faithful and the Fallen is his best work, and obviously it's finished. But people who have starting off with Gwyn with his later stuff, I think Faithful and the Fallen flexes a little bit harder some of his best points, which is his massive amount of POVs. I think he does a really good job of introducing, kind of like Erickson in that regard, where Erickson just has a ridiculous amount of characters, and I care about like almost all of them. It's kind of how I feel about John Gwyn, even though they're totally different authors. They're so different. Gwyn is like a weighted blanket made of tropes, pairs well with a slow weekend and warm soup. Hell yeah. And I love soup.
Yeah, I don't hate tropey fantasy. I don't hate it. It's fun.
What I was just telling everybody here, I said it feels familiar but fresh. Like that's what I always describe Gwyn with.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's not the deepest thing in the world, but like I cried once. Ruined me. Shadow of the Gods is phenomenal. Malice I like, but still need to read the rest of it. Yeah, if you like Shadow of the Gods, I think Valor Through Wrath will be right up your alley. Malice is not a good representation of everything that he can do. I've heard that. I am interested to see how he plays with stuff like Prophecy and Chosen Ones and everything. I'm worried about there being too much action from whatever. There is a lot of action, but as Alan says, nobody writes action like John Gwyn. Nobody. And I guess he takes that a lot from his historical fiction fan side of Bernard Cornwell, which people pretty much unanimously say Bernard Cornwell is the best combat writer ever. And though I'll tell you what, Erickson writes some crazy battles. Oh my goodness.
I don't even like battle scenes.
I know. I was going to ask you about that because you don't like battle scenes, but Malazan is very much military fantasy. So like, what about Malazan like sucked you in?
Well, Gardens of the Moon is like very much not military focused, and there is like a lot of other stuff going on in Malazan. Like obviously, it is very military focused, like you said, but there's also like all this magical stuff going on, and just like. Yeah, and I feel like his battle scenes, Deadhouse Gates did have certain battle scenes where I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I was like kind of vibing with the writing, instead of like understanding it. But I like Malazan because there is like a lot of thematic stuff to sink your teeth into. So even if it isn't like it completely catered to my tastes, there's still so much about it that I love.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like, so his sieges and everything like Alan's that are awesome. The thing I look forward to the most is the meeting of characters and their dialogues when they meet each other. Whiskey Jack and Animator Rake just had a conversation a couple pages back or chapters back, and it was like one of those things where like most people be like, okay, can we hurry up and get to the battle? And I'm like, no, I want Whiskey Jack and Animator Rake to talk about the old days for like 500 pages.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Whiskey Jack and Animander have like so much history. So it's like it's crazy to see them like.
And you believe in the history.
Yeah.
Like he writes it in a way where I really do believe in it, and I think that is what has really drawn me to Malazan. And another thing is kind of crazy is the characters, because everyone told me how weak the characterization was, but I like them. I like them a lot. Yeah. I love Tattersail.
Oh, Tattersail.
She that's my girl. Oh, Tattersail.
Tattersail.
I don't know. Silver Fox is
Tattersail. No, I'm not gonna say anything.
Tattersail is one of my favorite characters in recent memory. I don't know why.
She is. There's just something so unique about her and refreshing, because she is like, she's this sorceress and she's very powerful, but like, I don't know, it's just so interesting to see a character like Tattersail in fantasy. I feel like I haven't. There are some Aes Sedai that remind me of Tattersail, but they're not like the main. I'd say Varen.
Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, and I actually love Varen. And I think, where are we at in book 5 with Varen? I can't really remember. I don't know. I just remember like enjoying Varen because she was so interested in like what she was studying. Like she was so sold out for it. And
Jimmy, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you love Varen, just read and find out.
Read and find out. Okay. Okay, that's a character they better not cut from the show. By the way,
yeah.
I'll be pissed.
No.
There's
They're
no
not
way.
gonna-
Okay.
No.
Okay. Good. Yes, people are saying Varen rules. This is what I like to see. Silver Fox sucks. Well,
You know what? I don't want to say she sucks, but she's definitely not as cool as Tattersail. And I don't want to.
yeah, well, that's fair. I like Tattersail more as well. You know, just feel like there's a little too much going on with Silver Fox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She can't make up her
Silver
mind.
Fox doesn't have as much personality as Tattersail, I'd say. Like, she's more like caught up in like all the stuff, and we don't really get to see her as a person, which makes sense for like the situation that she's in.
Well, also the fact that Tattersail's like 108 years old or something.
Yeah, she's
But,
very like sure of herself.
It doesn't like. Did you feel like Tattersail was old though? Like even though she's 108, like I didn't feel like she was old. I know that sounds weird, but
No, I did. But it was like a weird sense of old, when it wasn't like an old in like an ancient way. It was an old in like there was something like very self-assured about her in the I don't know how to describe it.
well, also she gets a lot of layers, right?
Yeah.
With Lauren in the dinner scene and stuff that happens.
Yeah.
Like she just becomes so nuanced so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She wasn't old, but she just seemed like very experienced is probably a better word.
Yeah.
That she felt like, and she's so fascinating to me as a character. I'd love to have like a prequel book about Tattersail.
Actually, AP, you're in the chat. Are there any standalone or any of the novels where Tattersail's history is fleshed out? Because I would read that. Erickson also does science fiction. Rejoice, A Knife in the Heart is a top 3 book for me across all fiction. It's an alien first contact story. In case, I'm in. I love First Contact.
Oh yeah, and Pushing Ice is a first contact, so I'm always down.
I'm definitely down with that. Read and find out about feeling old.
Raffo.
That Varen greatness, absolutely. Path to Ascendancy, which is isn't that The God Is Not Willing? Is that correct? The one that's coming out in November?
Yeah, it's like the sequel to Malazan.
Tattersail's backstory is one of the plot lines. Okay, well, your boy's in, and I can read it.
Oh my god!
Well,
I have to finish Malazan before November.
I need to know if there's spoilers for the series. It's a prequel, so it shouldn't be, right?
No, I thought it's a sequel.
Is it a sequel?
Oh,
The second Path to Ascendancy. All right, let me look this up. Path to Ascendancy.
What?
Yeah, I'm confused now. Path to.
I don't think The God Is Not Willing is not.
Am I wrong?
It's not a prequel.
I
don't know.
I think I'm wrong. I'm just flat out wrong.
What is Path to Ascendancy? What is?
So
this?
it's a C. I think this is written by Esselmont, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like it has 3 books with a 4th announced. And Dead House Landing was written in 2017, and I believe it has Tattersail in it. So your boy's in. Oh yeah, there it is. A prequel trilogy about founding of the empire by Isaac Asimov. Oh, okay, cool.
Ice.
I almost said Isaac Asimov.
Ice.
Ice. Beautiful. Path is Escamone. I don't know if that's a typo or I didn't get it. Okay, God Is Willing is not. All right, I'm sorry. I messed up.
We're confusing everyone.
Yeah, you both should definitely try Night of Knives after Midnight Tide. Such a quick read. I've heard that. It's very fast. It's like 200 pages or something like that, and people really, really like it. Oh. Man.
Oh, I just started House of Chains, and there's a certain character that gets introduced, and I'm just like side-eyeing a lot of people because I'm like, is this y'all's fave?
Really?
I'm excited to keep reading House of Chains because I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yes, Scott was saying in chat that he's about finished with Tolls the Hounds, and it's his favorite so far, which I think a lot of people say that's one of their favorites. So I heard people tell me that Memories Ice was like their 5th favorite book, and I'm like, if this is your 5th favorite, like I can't wait to see the heights that this series can reach. Really,
one of my Discord people, Gallus, I think Memories of Ice is his favorite book.
I mean, of all time. It's definitely my favorite so far out of the first 3 without even finishing it. I've just I don't know. The opening was so good and so much stuff happened where I felt like he really let loose with information where he's held it back so much in the first two. And I really liked what you said. I think you said this off stream that you said that Gardens of the Moon and Dead House Gates are very much like almost like a prologue. And then like the series really gets going at Memories of Ice. And I totally agree with you now that I've read into Memories of Ice. I think you nailed it on the head. It's incredible. Alan is wrong, of course.
What is TTH?
That is Toll of the Hound. Is it
Toll the Hounds?
Yeah, I think is that the right book? I always mess up Malazan book names. I'm the worst Malazan ever. Yeah.
I don't even know all the names of the books. If you like put a gun to my head and were like say all 10 Malazan books in order, I'd die.
I'd never put a gun to your head.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've also heard a lot of people say that their favorites change on the read through. You know, AP, who has read Malazan a bazillion times, his favorite book in the whole series, Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah.
Gardens of the Moon. And I get it.
I like Gardens of the Moon. Gardens of the Moon is good.
I just remember being impressed that I liked it so much because everyone's like, "Yeah, Gardens of the Moon, just get through it." And I'm like, "Nah, I can read this again right now."
It's fun. It's a fun book.
Animander Rake.
People don't talk about how fun Malazan is. Like, it's so fun. Like, people are always like, "Oh, it's so complicated. It's all this and that," but it's like actually really fun to read.
It is. It's fun to read, and like I said, I think it would make a great movie. I think it would be such a fun movie to imagine Animander walking in with the dragon mask.
I know. That's like the funniest scene ever.
On his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, your tweet with Shaq hiding behind the sign is too good. Oh my god. Yeah, Alan, bring me and Rid on for Book Jeopardy. What the hell are you doing? I would do.
I'm really bad at.
I would do bad.
Jeopardy.
But I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm out of order on my shelf to see if someone watching will spot it. Look at this.
That's so funny.
AP's over here playing 4D chess.
I will say, AP's shelves, I'm so jealous. Look at my tiny little shelf. I'm so jealous of everyone. Everyone's bookshelves. I'm gonna steal all your bookshelves. I'm jealous.
I've officially out of room, so it's a time to either buy another one, but I kind of want to redo. So actually, for everyone watching, what I was thinking of is taking two bookshelves like that, putting in a short one, and then putting a green screen between the two tall ones, that takes up the other half, and putting the book cover or whatever I'm talking about on my green screen.
Oh, like a little Anthony Fantano moment?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Anthony Fantano, he's like a music reviewer, and he does that. He has like a green screen, and he put that on. Well,
mine would be cooler.
Yeah, obviously.
Probably.
Of course.
I've been thinking about it, but the thing is
do you need a green screen for that though? I feel like you just need like a blank space in the wall, and you could just put the picture on the blank space.
You're 100% right. It's just like I didn't need this microphone, but I was like,
you want it.
I kind of want it. I don't have fancy clothes. I don't have fancy cars, but I like little tech things, and I obviously like books.
I just bought LED lights, so I need to set them up. I don't know tech stuff, so I get really intimidated to set it up for my Booktube videos, and I feel like it's kind of embarrassing. I feel like people are gonna be like, "You're trying too hard" if I start getting all this lighting and stuff. But I have to figure out how to set it up because I bought lights off of Amazon, so my videos can actually have some production value.
Yeah, I bought 2 outside colored Halloween LED lights, and I just shoot them on the wall behind me, and I'm like, yeah, aesthetic.
I love the vibes in your videos. The purple is really nice.
I appreciate that. Purple's my favorite color, so it was an easy pick. I did not know this, AP. Apparently, you've only read the series once. This is my first reread. Well, the amount that you were able to pull out of it on your first read
really
is insulting to my intelligence. Or I should say insulting to my ability to have comprehension. But that is insane.
Yeah, wow.
The dude's just operating on. You remember we talked about big heads earlier?
Yeah.
AP just has a big brain. He
has a big brain.
Yeah, he's operating on a different level. He is the LeBron James of reading, because that is absurd. You know so much about the series, dude.
Well, okay, wait, because AP is also a beta reader, right? So does that? So have you read? You know, how does that count into the reading the series once? Like you've read them as they were being written.
Yeah, he has cheat codes.
Yeah,
he's got the
cheat
game
codes.
Shark. Yeah, he's cheating.
What a flex!
Yeah, what? He's on God mode, and we're over here just trying to get through.
I know we're on book 3, like.
I'm just losing my mind in Memories.
We're just like Animander Rake is cool. Like that's our level of conversation.
Yes, AP is definitely. I would give him the Animander Rake award of Malaz tubers.
Oh yeah,
because he's all powerful.
Definitely.
Erickson, go back to re-release the books. So we all have matching covers. Yes, for the love of God. These books behind me that don't match in height drive me insane. I'm not even halfway through the series, but I want the Subterranean Press edition so bad. They're so pretty. They're so good looking.
Yeah.
I have never read the published version of Toll the Hounds or any of the books published after that.
Wow, this message, what a flex. Like what a flex. Wow,
that is pretty impressive, my friend. That's awesome. Yeah, so AP, I don't know if you heard this when I talked about this on the Gardens of the Moon chat, but I picked up the first in the Karacanas. I don't know what
Karkanas.
That I picked up Karacanas. So I picked up the first book in the Karacanas trilogy at my local bookstore. It was a first edition trade paperback, and I opened it up to read the intro because I always do that. And your name was under the acknowledgments, and I thought it was like I was like so impressed. I was like, "This is so awesome! I know this dude." Yeah, people trying to disrespect my pronunciation of Karacanas. It's literally
Karacanas.
Malazan is what you make it, you know?
Yeah, it is. It really
is. Guys, there are matching covers if you just... Alan loves mass market paperbacks. It's his favorite.
Me too.
Do you really?
Yeah, look at my bookshelves. They're all like disgusting little torn up mass market paperbacks. Well, I guess you can't see. It's kind of dark in my room.
I bought the Tor Wheel of Time mass market paperbacks because I had heard that they were no longer going to print those covers.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's true, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm buying them. And my Barnes & Noble does not carry any of them anymore.
Oh.
So I was like...
Yeah, I mean, I have the like ones that I read as kids, and they were falling apart.
I love the covers of Wheel of Time.
They're
awfully amazing. Some of them are...
I'm just like upset about the new covers because they're like... No one understands the pain that I feel when I see the new Wheel of Time covers, and everyone's like, "But they're pretty, but they're boring." Like that's my problem with the covers. They're boring. Like I don't.
Yeah. Could we have gotten like the old covers like remastered? You know what I mean? Like put some flair on them and stuff.
What I wanted them to do is like commission artists to like repaint, like paint new pictures and like just like redo the covers and make them feel epic.
Yeah,
like the stock photos are pretty, but like you can literally my friend Chris, he found them on Adobe, like Photoshop, like whatever stock photos.
No.
Like he literally found some of the pictures on there, and I was like,
that hurts.
Yeah, I know,
but
hurts. It's okay. One day we will have good Wheel of Time covers.
Your Brain on Book says the perfect level of cheese, and that's exactly the way to describe the Wheel of Time covers from back in the day. I love them.
They're nostalgic. I like the old ones. They're nostalgic, but like I still feel like we can do better.
Yeah, and I think you're on to something. Like if it really was found in an Adobe stock photos, that's awful, right? Yeah. Spine cracked mass market paperbacks look like grizzled veterans.
Yeah,
like the Malazan.
I love it.
Dude, my Song of Ice and Fire mass market paperbacks are shredded. Shredded.
My copy of The Great Hunt is literally in 2 pieces. It's disgusting.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Ugly Amazon logo, even the trade paperbacks. Yeah. Check out the Juniper Wheel of Time cover. Oh yeah, is that the one Daniel Green has? Yeah, I looked at them, I saw the price, and I was like,
they're not like covers. They're just like dust jackets, and they're just like they do look nice, but they're not. I don't consider those covers, like they're like for decoration. I don't know if that distinction makes sense to anyone, but yeah, I do want to get those one day.
See this? The mass market for European are bigger for Malazan. That's really interesting. My Discworld books are in tatters. Yeah, Discworld's one of those ones that like I can't find an edition. I mean, I like the folio. Somebody did the death. They did Mort, and it looked amazing. Daniel Green had it, but I just get them on ebook now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm slowly collecting them on ebook because I love Terry Pratchett's writing.
Yeah, I love Discworld so much. I'm so excited. I want it to be like October so I can read the rest of the Weird Sisters trilogy. That I just love. It's so good. I love Granny Weatherwax. She's like one of the best characters ever.
So does Alan. Oh my, he loves that character. I've only read Mort, and I'm going to read through the rest of Death's arc. I'm basically just going to sneak in Pratchett novels whenever I can.
I haven't actually read that many Discworld books, but Monstrous Regiment is so funny. Like I love that book. Monstrous Regiment is probably like one of my favorite books of all time. It's such a good book.
I mean, Mort, everyone says is not his best work, and if that's not his best, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Like I loved it, so I'm in for a good time. And also Bright and Bookish. Footnotes on ebook suck. Yes, that is a very yeah, it's a real thing. It sucks. Pranav says Granny is incredible. I guess I need to figure out all about Granny.
She's the best.
Weird Sisters is fantastic. Regiment is great. Alan could go for days. Every time I open up YouTube, by the way, on the home row of videos that are recommended, Alan's Discworld video 100% of the time is on my recommended. So fun. I've watched it. I'm like, I don't need it recommended to me anymore, Alan. You're gaming the algorithm. Get out of here. You need to figure out about Samuel Vimes.
Samuel Vimes is a very interesting character. He's kind of like grizzled. He's like kind of smart. He's an interesting character.
Wow, Mort is probably in the bottom 10 Discworld books. Wow, I mean that's good news. I'm happy about it. Monsters Regiment is awesome, great twist ending. Well, we have tons to read. Rid, I'm gonna let you go because we've been on for three hours. Can you believe it?
This is the second 3-hour stream I've done this week.
Yeah, right. I mean, this was super fun. I don't want to take up any more of your Friday night, and I'm pretty fired up. I'm fired up to read some right now. But
oh yeah,
Rid, thank you for spending your time with me, and I also just appreciate everything you do over on your channel. If you are not subscribed to Riddhima, I really encourage you to. I think that she provides a fresh, unique take on a lot of the books that we all know and love. And I don't know if there's anyone who articulates their thoughts better than Rid, and she puts a lot of time and preparation into the way that she states things. And I think that is very noble. And something that I wish I did more of.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for having me on your channel, and you're definitely one of the reasons that I keep making Booktube videos. Yeah, I'm just so thankful I get to meet people like you through this community. So thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone in chat for chatting with us for 3 hours.
Yes, it was super fun.
Yeah.
And next time, if it works out, AP, who says good night all, great stream. I would love to have you on AP. So hit me up, or I'll get in contact with you and we'll work it out. Everyone, thank you. It's Friday. Go do something fun now. But seriously, thank you everyone that did super chats and the donations. Like, that means the world to me. It's very humbling, and I appreciate for letting me talk your ear off and listen to me and Rid hang out, because me and Rid are friends, like legitimate friends. And this is just us hanging out. Like, this is what we'd be doing if we weren't. So to get the perspective from chat and their input, it's awesome. And I love you all very much. and I love doing this. So, Rid, I will talk to you again real soon. Chat, I'll talk to you real soon. Be well, be safe. And until next time, remember to always keep turning the page.